Memphis and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Oh, yeah. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stat Scoresworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant Dacus with you. Zach Boyd with me. Connor Dacus producing. No Brett Norsworthy today or the rest of the week. He's taken some much-needed vacation days before the college football season begins. So we're with you for the next 3 hours. Plenty to get into. We had an unbelievable golf tournament over the weekend that came to a conclusion last night. We've got Tiger basketball news. We've got to talk Tiger football as the football season is almost here. So a little bit of everything, some NFL preseason football to talk about. So a little bit of everything over these next 3 hours. We'll try to get to as much of it as we can. But Zach, how are you this afternoon? I appreciate you stepping up and filling in for Brett today.
Oh yeah, like when you told me what yesterday, I was like, hey, I need you, buddy.
I was a little nervous to ask you about it yesterday.
Yeah. So I had to make a slight adjustment with my afternoon nap.
I appreciate it. Hey, that afternoon nap's important.
Yes, it is. But I'm glad to be here with the Dacus Bros.
That's right, the Dacus duo, I guess you could say. So you were at the golf tournament. You were at TPC Southwind yesterday for the final day of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. How was it? What'd you think? How long were you? What time did you get out there?
I got out there around the afternoon time, so probably like around 1, 2. Because I wasn't going to be out there all day in the sun. Right. So I was like, well, let me time this perfectly so that when the leaders finish the front, that's when I can come in, slide in. It's like, all right, let's see how this thing's going to end. And sure enough, it ended in fireworks towards the end.
So did you follow the leaders all day, or what'd you do?
So my girlfriend and I took my girlfriend with me. So what we did was we parked underneath a tree near the 12th green. And we just stayed there.
Oh, so you parked at somebody's house?
No. We was on the course.
Oh, I thought you meant your car when you said parked.
Well, I parked myself. My bike.
Okay, I see.
So
now I'm thinking, there's no houses around 12.
I don't know. There's no way I'm gonna put my car on the golf course.
No.
So so we was you're familiar with the walkway where you're walking down 12 and you could peel off towards 13.
Yeah.
So we was over there, in that intersect. That little walking junction. Yeah. And we was like, all right, cool. We like this shade under this tree. We're going to stay right here. And perfectly enough, we saw Xander, we saw Scotty, saw Nick Dunlap. Yeah, everybody was coming through, coming off the front, down the back. So it was perfect. So we just kind of sat there and we just kind of chilled, wait for all the big time golfers come through on 12, and then we started walking towards 18. To kind of close things out,
see the finish.
Yeah.
No. It was like you said, it was a great day of golf yesterday because it really felt like, and Connor and I were out there. I think we got out there about 12:45 or so, close to 1 o'clock, and saw a lot. And it really felt like kind of watching Hideki, especially through the front nine.
Yeah,
he was pretty much playing even golf. And I kept telling Connor, if he just finishes even for the day, he wins it. That's all he needs to do is just play fine golf, you win.
Yeah.
And then, so we kind of walked around. We went down to 14, which is one of my favorite holes. I was trying to put together a power ranking of my favorite holes at TPC Southwind. I think number 1 would have to be number 3. I love number 3. Kind of goes down, has that water on the right side. You got bunkers on the left.
It's been a minute since I've seen the front.
That's all right. It's right there. It's the hole that you always see if you're driving by Southwind. The green is right there, basically at the street. On Hacks Cross.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's probably my favorite hole. My second favorite would probably have to be 14. I really like 14. Par 3 with the water. They are continuing. It feels like every year I go, they add more seating around 14. It feels like maybe if they continue to add seating, it will kind of be like you'll have fans surrounding pretty much the whole thing, which would be really cool.
It's kind of like give it like an amphitheater type of scene.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, and I pointed this out to Connor while we were out there, because I had stopped by Thursday and Friday, 14 as well. Everybody just so nice as the golfers coming down 14 towards green. Everyone's giving them everybody an applause, just clapping for everybody. So that was nice. But no, I mean, I would say 3 is probably my favorite. 14 probably second favorite, and then I really don't know after that. I don't know.
I take 3 on mine.
Yeah.
I in no particular order. Like
sure.
three. The third hole for sure. Give me 11. 11. Okay. 11 brings some fireworks.
I like 11.
12 bring fireworks as well.
Yeah.
You give me 14, and let me have 16, and I'm 16, 18. I'm cool.
I like it.
I like that.
I can do that. 18's got to be somewhere on my power rankings.
Obviously, the theme for me is like when you got a bunch of water.
Yeah.
Like that's always in play, and obviously they're professionals, so you expect them to not hit the water, but on any given day they can be just as human like us.
Well, and that's the thing about TPC Southlands. There's just a ton of water on that course. And so, it's always a thing where they have on, this weekend on NBC, on Golf Channel, they'll have like the tracker that they'll throw up every, whenever someone hits it in the water. It's like, that's number 120, the 120th ball that's gone into the water. And so, a lot of balls find the water. And you could see yesterday, some guys trying to play it ultra safe just to avoid the water, which I guess
because
if you want.
Because I know specifically on 12 and on number 18, a lot of the golfers push it right, so they're in that little kind of like fairway-ish, rough-ish.
A lot of guys going to the sand yesterday on 18, trying to do anything possible to stay out of the water.
Stay out of the water.
Yeah, which is even almost more impressive because they go sand, and a lot of those guys are hitting it from, the sand that's way back there onto the green.
Yeah.
And it's just, some of the shots I saw yesterday, extremely impressive, including Hideki's on 18. That was the winner. He hit that, and everybody was going, that won it. That was the winner. Right there.
He definitely took a risk there, because if it was me, it's like center right of the green.
Right.
We're going to 2-putt for win. Like, I'm not taking dead aim at the flag.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy.
Well, and that's why I'm not a PGA golfer.
You're right.
And,
I don't take risks. Exactly. Now, I will say, I don't know on the 18th hole if Sam Burns, his tee shot went into the water. Did it went in the water?
I think it did.
Okay, like I missed that, and that was like right in front of me.
Yeah, so he went into the water, and then Will Zalatoris, I think, found sand on his first one, and then hit it way over to where we were. We were in, Connor and I were in Freight 59, the little, it was
the pavilion,
a little suite area, and shout out to Sissy's Log Cabin for that. And so we were sitting right there, and ball came straight towards us, hit the ground, bounced up real high, hit the railing right beside where Connor was sitting. Railing not there would have hit Connor in the head, and then it bounced, kind of way off to the side, and a lot of people had no idea what had happened, where it had even gone. And so that group was a little wild on 18, and they were like right there in the middle of like all the big dogs.
Yeah.
You saw like Xander come through, and then it was like them, and then it was like Scotty after them, and then it was Hideki and Nick Dunlap.
Right.
But it got crazy late. I was trying to keep up with it on my phone. You had Hideki bogey on, what hole did he bogey on?
It was a double on 15,
Double
I
on
believe.
15, which brought him back down to 15 under. And so then you had Xander Victor Hovland and Hideki all at 15 under. Xander ends up saving par on 18 to be at 15 under.
Yeah.
Then Hovland has an attempt to make birdie on 18 and just missed it.
Man.
And then, so I think everybody was kind of hoping, Hideki, let's just play a fine hole here and, let's call it a day. Because he had birdied 17. He had just come off. Because I know a lot of people were in the suite we were in were saying, Victor's up one. Victor's up one, even with that par. And I'd turn around and be like, no, Hideki just birdied 17. Like, we are all knotted up. And so then Hideki hits a great second shot, great first shot, and then a great second shot to set up his birdie to win the tournament. And so I thought an unbelievable weekend at TPC Southland. I did not go on Saturday. Saturday was the only day I wasn't there. Looked good on television. I watched a ton of it on TV. But being out there Thursday, Friday, and then on Sunday as well, just a blast. It was such a fun time and a lot of chaos out there.
Man, I'm funny enough. I was at 18 when Zalatoris' shot went that way. I didn't know where his ball went.
It was crazy.
And I just saw just a gang of people just filing their way towards his ball. I was like, what happened?
That's another thing. People get too close to the ball for my comfort.
Very close.
Hey, back up a little bit,
So funny enough, my girlfriend, she when she saw people was walking towards his ball, she was like, why are they getting so close to his ball?
Way too close.
He got a hit. I don't understand why. I'm like, they just want to be as close as possible to the action.
Oh yeah, as close as they can be. So I was a little wrong, and I said it, and I was like, that's not right. So Hovland both Hovland and Schauffele both had pars on 18 to stay at 15 under.
Right.
Hideki birdied 17 to go up one stroke.
Yeah.
To go to 16 under, and then comes down 18, birdies again to win it at 17 under. Because I remember, I think it was Jason Munns who tweeted out and was like, if you're just looking at the leaderboard, you probably didn't think that there was a lot of chaos, but Sunday was crazy.
Yes.
At TPC Southland.
Yes. It was funny. Funny enough, you mentioned DeMichael.
Yeah.
I was walking with him.
Oh wow.
Back towards 18, back towards the media tent. And we were just kind of just conversating about it, and he was like, end up running into Greg Aston there as well.
Yeah.
And they're both were saying this thing is over with, and I'm like, well, guys, we still kind of got 5, 6 more holes left.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's over, but if he starts parring the next if he would have parred the next 2 holes, then I would have all right, barring something crazy this thing is over with.
Yeah, but no, it was a ton of fun over the weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of this hour, kind of put our final wrap on the weekend at TPC Southwind. But before we get to top and not top story, and I can already tell you it's going to be my top story, but I do want to talk about it a little bit, and we'll talk about it more at 4 o'clock with David Cobb. We'll talk about it probably a little bit more at 5:30 as well. But we finally have at least the first game announced for all the teams in Maui this year. It was announced earlier today by John Rothstein at about 11:45 or so. That came out, and the Memphis Tigers, who, and I've been one of them, a lot of people talking about how tough this non-conference schedule is, and we knew that already a tough non-conference schedule, and they're going to play some tough teams in Maui, but Memphis gets UConn to start Maui play, the back-to-back champs. UConn losing a lot. I was looking at it earlier, lost 4 of their 5 leading scorers from last year, but bringing in some talented players, 5-star Liam McNeely coming in. They got a couple guys out of the transfer portal that I think are good players. And I said this to John earlier. Any team that's coached by Dan Hurley at this point, I have confidence that they're going to be a really good team. And so it's going to be a tough test. All of these games are going to be tough tests for Memphis and Maui. But I am excited to see Memphis going up against the probably not number one team, but the back-to-back champs in UConn.
Yeah, and UConn getting Alex Caravan back after. I mean, I was kind of surprised because Caravan was projected to be in the first-round pick if he stayed in.
Yeah, and he's going to be a massive player for them this year. And I think, going back to when Dan Hurley had the job offer from the Lakers, that was kind of a big story kind of behind the scenes of, like, Alex Caravan made it very obvious the only reason he came back to UConn for another year, because you said, projected to go at a good spot in the NBA draft. Only reason he came back was because of Dan Hurley and to play another year for Dan Hurley.
Right.
So, yeah, he's coming back. He's going to be big for them. So, I heard a lot. I guess I shouldn't say I heard a lot. John said it, and then I saw one or two other people on social media, and one of my buddies texted me and was like, well, they lost a lot from last year's team. They're not going to be the team they've been the last 2 years.
I mean, we said that
exactly. We said that last year. You're absolutely right, Zach. That was kind of the story last year. Oh, they won the national championship, but they're not going to be as good as they were last year.
Yeah, they're bringing back Klingon, but can we for sure say that the guard play is going to be different?
Yeah, well, and then, that was the story because Klingon was the backup and didn't play much the year before and was injured and had an injury going into the season, and so I mean I think UConn's going to be a great team, and that should be a really fun matchup to watch in Maui. Then we also learned that Memphis and Alabama will play in a charity exhibition down in Huntsville, Alabama. That could be your preseason number one team. With what they're bringing back, what they've added, Alabama's going to be a really, really strong team. So give the Tigers a good opportunity to see what they have and kind of see what this team could look like in a really tough non-conference slate. And I would guess, because this is being put out there as a charity exhibition, the fact that we even know about it and it's being put out there by people that are in charge of the venue and stuff like that, this is not a super secret scrimmage that you always hear about that are not very super secret, because you get all the stats and the scores and everything from those super secret scrimmages. My guess would be is that this will be streamed somewhere, that you'll be able to watch this game. You might have to pay to watch it. You might have to throw down $5 to watch this exhibition between Memphis and Alabama. But if you want to get a glimpse of this team, you should be able to with that exhibition in October. And like I said, will be a good matchup for the Tigers against what I think you're going to see some people pick this Alabama team as a team that could win it all this year.
That's interesting. Interesting, guys. I know they're bringing back the big point guard in Mark Sears, and they added a slew of talented players.
Yeah, and supposedly Grant Nelson's going to take that next step.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where his progression is, because last year in the tournament, I thought he was going to be a difference maker, a much bigger difference maker for them in the tournament, but he only had that one good game, and that was it.
Well, that was kind of the story of Grant Nelson last year. I mean, preseason was, oh man, look at this guy from North Dakota State that they just got, and he's awesome. And that was him all season. Was he would have one game that you're like, oh yeah, this guy's got it, and then he'd have 3 or 4 games after that where it's like, I can see that he's going to be a good player, but he still needs a lot of work and needs to develop a little bit. So yeah, I'm curious to see what he'll look like, but. Definitely a ton of Memphis basketball news coming out, and we'll get to more of that later in the show. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat reporter over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us, talk some Tiger football, as we're only 2 weeks away from their season opener against North Alabama. Plenty to talk about with Jonah. 3:45, we'll take our final look back at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, our takeaways, what we saw basketball. We'll do that at 3:45. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us, talk some college football and college basketball. A ton to get to with him. Obviously, with all of this Tiger basketball news we got to talk about that with him. Also, week 0 this Saturday in college football. So we got to get his thoughts on Florida State and Georgia Tech and what he expects to see in a very limited slate for these FBS teams in week 0. 4:30, we'll talk some baseball. A lot of news over the weekend from the world of Major League Baseball. Another injury to the Atlanta Braves that we got to talk about. Austin Riley going to miss some time as, man, the injuries just keep on piling up for the Atlanta Braves. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, to Michael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. Plenty to talk about with him. It's been a while since we've caught up with DeMichael, and last Thursday we got the schedule released by the NBA for the Memphis Grizzlies. We really haven't had a lot of time to talk about it because of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. So we'll talk a lot about it with DeMichael at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we'll talk about what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. And Family Leisure has the world's biggest spa sale going on right now. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spa starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas starting at $17,499. And special financing, it's available. Huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools too. All patio furniture, it's also priced to move. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. And another reminder, if you want to be part of the show, call or text the Sissy's Log Cabin guest and listener line, 901-360-8255. That's 901-360-8255. Thank you again to Sissy's Log Cabin. And if you want to be part of the show, if you want to text in anything we're talking about, hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. But let's go ahead and get to top story of the day.
Top story of the day.
Well, I mentioned it. I said it was going to be my top story, but finally, after weeks and weeks of waiting for anything from Maui, we finally at least have what the first round matchups will look like. I have not seen an official bracket. I know John Rothstein said that an official announcement was coming from Maui later, but I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe it's out there and I've missed it. I'll check, and hopefully by the end of the show we may have a bracket, because I would love to know what does it look like after the UConn game for the Tigers. But just looking at the first round matchups, Memphis will play UConn in the first game. Definitely a massive test for Penny Hardaway and his Tiger team, and it just adds on to this incredibly tough non-conference schedule. Jason Munns did a story, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, and said that a lot of people were asking him, was this the toughest non-conference schedule that Memphis basketball has ever played? And so he did some digging, went back and looked at some schedules, and kind of came to the conclusion of, yeah, it's up there, and let's wait and see what Maui looks like. But yeah, it's a good non-conference schedule. They still have one more game to add to non-conference, not including Maui, so we'll see. And then he tweeted out earlier today, after this came out, that they'd be playing UConn. That, yeah, I think we know our answer now on if this is the toughest non-conference schedule. Penny Hardaway has done a fantastic job putting together tough non-conference schedules for this Tiger team. It was one of the first things he said when he got the job at the University of Memphis, that he wanted to play anybody and everybody. He wanted to play the toughest teams because he thought that would make his team better. And obviously he's doing that with the schedule he's put together. I know UConn is not one that he set up. It was what Maui gave him. But when you add that on to the already tough non-conference schedule, it's going to be really fun watching this team. The other matchups for the first round of Maui: Michigan State versus Colorado, Auburn versus Iowa State, and North Carolina versus Dayton. We also now know that Memphis will play Alabama in a preseason exhibition, a charity exhibition, on October 28th in Huntsville, Alabama, as part of the 2024 Rocket City Classic. So a lot of news coming in for Tiger basketball on this Monday.
Yeah, Yeah, it's gonna be big. It's big.
Yeah.
Who's in the field? Do you know who else is in the field with them?
For what? For Maui?
For Maui, yeah.
Yeah. So it's UConn, Michigan State, Colorado, Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina, and Dayton.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the way it was set up. It was set up in this order, so I don't know if that is saying that UConn, Memphis, winner loser will play Michigan State, Colorado, or if that's just how it was listed. Because I haven't seen a full bracket yet, so I don't know what next will look like for sure. But I mean, you look at those teams. Michigan State's always a good team, with Izzo as
or at least be a problem.
Sure, exactly. Colorado was a lot better last year. I don't really know what they had.
They lost
this
a lot
year.
of talent.
They lost a ton, so I don't know how good they'll be. Auburn has been really, really good under Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
You feel like they're going to be a tough test. Iowa State has been really, really good under Otzelberg. So
as of late,
so I think they'll probably be another good team. We know what North Carolina has done and what they're doing.
Yeah.
They brought back some really good players from last year's team.
Pretty much brought back the whole crew.
They're going to be a good team. Dayton's always kind of that mid-major team that nobody wants to play because they're good. They're going to be in the tournament every year.
Yeah.
So, this is a really tough slate, and no Chaminade. They're in every other year. They were playing last year, so no Chaminade this year. So it's gonna be incredibly tough. Any matchup you get.
I was waiting for the College of Charleston or Chaminade.
None of that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I guess you're waiting for my top story.
If you got one, please.
My top story of the day. Man, we gotta look at this quarterback situation that's going on in the NFL, man.
Oh man.
It is rough if you don't have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Like three teams that I mentioned today during Wolo and Friends. Mm-hmm. You got Chicago. Obviously, Chicago got it figured out with Caleb Williams.
Yep.
But the Raiders, they just announced that Gardner Minshew is going to be their day one quarterback here in 2 weeks. The Vikings lost J.J. McCarthy with a torn meniscus. So now you're looking at Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback. And then, obviously, the biggest one, I mean, at some point, the Steelers got to get this right, don't you think?
Yeah, they got two options.
And the thing is, I'm willing to kind of give Russ a chance to kind of figure out, because to me, he's a brother. He plays quarterback.
Sure.
I'm always going to be in defense. Same way with Justin Fields. But, something got to give. Like the Steelers have always been one of those fringe 500 teams where they can be good. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like coming into this offseason for them, we're thinking that, man, okay, if Russ can just be half as good or even a little bit better than he was with the Broncos, they got a chance.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. They, from what I heard, they might be leaning towards Justin Fields on day one. So I feel bad for teams that don't have a quarterback, or I feel bad for the teams that are in quarterback purgatory.
Yeah. Because
at least if you're bad, at least you got a guy that you can start day one. Like the Commanders are starting Jaden Daniels day one here. So I feel bad for them. Not really, but I feel bad.
Yeah, no, it's a weird situation. You mentioned the Steelers. It'll be a great question to ask Bo Marchant tomorrow afternoon with his coverage of the Steelers, kind of what they're going to do at that quarterback position.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story, it's the NFL preseason, and what you kind of talked about with the Steelers, that's led a lot of the conversation. I was with some friends Saturday night, and one of the guys asked me, he was like, do the Pittsburgh Steelers have the worst quarterback room in the National Football League? I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think it's bad.
I don't think so. And I like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. So I told him, I was like, I might be a little biased on this because I do think both of them are good quarterbacks. I thought Russell Wilson had a sneaky good season last year. If you just kind of dig deeper into the numbers and what he was doing at Denver last year, he was better than people acted like he was. But when you start looking at it, because we kind of started naming quarterback rooms, it's a lot. You're absolutely right. There's a lot. I mean, you look at Las Vegas, starting Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell's the backup quarterback. Yeah. You look at Minnesota now with J.J. McCarthy injured. We had a texter earlier when John and I were having the same discussion and said that he doesn't like the Tennessee Titans room, that he doesn't really trust Will Levis yet. And then you look at what else they've got, it's not any good. I mean, it's a lot of maybe unproven. It's a lot of question marks with a lot of these quarterback rooms. And so, the teams out there that have quarterbacks, you got to feel lucky and thankful. Some of the other things, though, talk about quarterbacks, and I mentioned this, I said maybe Denver is in that mix of teams with bad quarterback rooms. But Bo Nix, what he did last night, 2 drives, he was 7 for 8, I believe, or no, 8 for 9 with 80 yards and a touchdown in 2 drives before they said, hey, we've seen enough. Michael Penix, the news that came down earlier today, Raheem Morris said, we've seen enough of him. He's good, and he's not going to play the rest of preseason. Hey. So it's a lot of interesting stories coming out of the NFL, especially at that quarterback position.
Yeah, and I think it's all but certain that Bo Nix is going to start day one for the.
It feels like it
for the Broncos. So, and especially with this new quarterback rule, like, you kind of want to have 3 quarterbacks ready to go that you can fully trust.
Absolutely.
So, and you kind of see that with a lot of these teams who they already have their starter in place and have a solid veteran that they can and then they took a risk. For example, like the Broncos taking a risk on Zach Wilson. Not to say that he's going to start day one or going to be a starter at some point, but quarterback play is bad. Yeah. And if you don't have one of the good to elite, the one of the good to the elite ones, you better have a good team strategy to make up that deficit.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right. That'll do a top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we're talking Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Martin loves her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
Volkswagen Germantown. Marty, you might be too busy moving back prices over there. What's up?
I'm going way back, Randy. Doc's orders. I've got 2024 Teos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport. Got to go back in time to get the good old days at $275 a month.
Great Scott, McNate. Plus, I hear the 2024 Atlas Peak Editions are going for $5,000 off MSRP or $1.9 for 60 months.
That's right, Randy. During the Volkswagen Savvy Summer Sales Event, your future is whatever you make of it. So go to Gossett Volkswagen Germantown at 7420 Winchester Road or shop online at GossettVWG.com.
Ask for Marty to find out how much he can move you back on price. That's Gossett Volkswagen 7420 Winchester Road.
Right now at Wendy's, you can get a small Frosty for $1. And literally everyone is going. The car behind you, going to get $1 Frosty. The car ahead of you, already had one, going for a second. The person who cut you off earlier, you guessed it, $1 Frosty. Maybe it's all a sign for you to go get one. Just don't cut anyone off. No one likes that person. The iconic Frosty for $1, gotta be Wendy's.
Time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Not valid in a combo. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, California, and via third-party delivery.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallow said hello.
SportsTime.com. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats, Norsworthy, and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Zach with you on this Monday afternoon, and joining us now to talk some Tiger football, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat reporter over at the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. We're only now 2 weeks away from the first Tiger football game of the season against North Alabama. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. I want to start off. We've seen the rankings come out. At first was the coaches poll, and then the AP poll came out last Monday. And when you look at both of those, for the coaches poll, Memphis received the most votes of any group of 5 team. They were right outside the top 25. And then I think right behind them was Boise State. But then you saw the AP poll that came out last Monday. They were the 3rd highest group of 5 team behind Boise State and Liberty. What did you think of those 2 rankings, and what do you think of those 2 other teams that it feels like from all of the preseason projections and predictions, it feels like this is a 3-team race, at least right now, between Memphis, Liberty, and Boise State. What do you think about those other 2 teams, Liberty and Boise State?
Yeah, definitely understand why people have kind of circled in on those couple teams. Boise State, has kind of been interesting in the past. I think it was last night. They named Maddox Madsen as their starting quarterback, which was surprising to a lot of people because Malachi Nelson, who was the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country from 2023, had just transferred there and apparently lost the competition for that starting spot. So that's big news. A lot of people are kind of saying, oh, well, now Boise State's not going to be as good. Well, to be honest, if you thought Boise State was going to be a top team, and the coaches decided that they picked a certain quarterback, I don't think that means that they're not going to compete anymore, right? So I wouldn't take them off the list. And Boise State certainly has talent across the ball, and they have Ashton Jendi, one of the best running backs in the country and the best player in the group of 5. So don't write them off. I think it makes sense that Memphis is up there with those teams. Like those 3 teams are, they're getting picked most consistently. There's definitely some App States and even Texas State. I saw Brett McMurphy put out his prediction today. He had Texas State as that 12 seed. So there's other teams that are definitely in the mix, but it makes sense those are the teams, obviously for Memphis to be in the coaches poll, to get that kind of respect and be the top team there was, I think, good news for Memphis in terms of the trajectory and where things are headed in the perception, because perception is going to be important when we get to the end of the season. And it's important for Memphis to always be kind of at the forefront of the conversation. And they're obviously there now, and now it's about keeping that up as the season gets underway.
Yeah.
Jonah, coming into the season, and I think as I even look at this upcoming season, but also seasons prior, where the Tigers, they either have like a really good offense and like a okay defense, or a really good defense and offense is just all right. Is there a chance that the defense can be better than what we're kind of hearing and what we're hearing from your reports? Is there a chance that defense can be better than the early preseason like training camp reports that you guys are giving out to us?
It definitely can be better. I think the defense, and I've talked about it a couple of times. I mean, that's one of the big question marks, kind of the defense as a whole coming into the season in terms of what is the scheme going to look like, who's going to be out there, how much are certain guys going to play, and how productive can they be? Because like you said, this was a defense that struggled a lot last season. This was a defense that could not make stops at the end of games. Those games that the Tigers lost last year came down to a few plays and a few possessions near the end of those games, usually in the 4th quarter, where the defense couldn't get off the field. And so it's going to be huge this year. Obviously, we know how prolific the offense was and how much we expect that to continue this year with who they've brought back and the firepower that's over there. So the defense is kind of going to be the X factor for this season, and it's going to take a couple of games. I think it's going to be interesting to see, Jordan Hinkins, who's the new defensive coordinator, he's talked about changing schemes week to week. We'll see how much that actually happens. We'll see what the base scheme kind of looks like and how other teams react to it, and then we'll see how it develops throughout the season, whether it's things that are switching in kind of chaos every week and trying to throw the other team off guard, which obviously we saw worked really well against Iowa State in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That was one of the things that really got Memphis the win, was that Iowa State's offense was just confused at the beginning of the game. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And I think if they can get it right, there's playmakers on that side of the ball, and there's the potential for the defense to be significantly better than it was last year. And like you said, that would be huge for the whole team.
Yeah. You talked to Ryan Silverfield a couple weeks ago after their first close scrimmage. What were his takeaways? What did he have to say after that scrimmage about how the team looked?
Yeah, his number one takeaway was too many penalties. He was pretty blunt about that. And, that was early, and there's obviously they've had another scrimmage since then. They scrimmaged last weekend at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, actually, which
wow.
I think is probably be good for them, because even looking at some of the pictures, it looks weird when you're playing in a stadium and half of it isn't there. And obviously we're going to notice that more, when we get there for the first game and fans are kind of seeing what it looks like. But that's something that they'll have to get used to. I think, going back to the scrimmage, he named a couple guys who kind of stood out, guys that maybe we haven't thought about as much, and freshmen and guys who maybe will get to play more of a role this year. But he said that he liked kind of the explosiveness, he liked the energy, and he didn't like the penalties. And it makes sense, because this is not a team that's been penalized a lot in the past couple of years. They've been pretty good under Ryan Silverfield in that sense. And if that does become a problem, then it could be a huge liability. So hopefully we can get that cleaned up. Obviously, he'll be hoping that doesn't come into the first game of the season against North Alabama.
Yeah. Talking to Jonah Dillon, he's the Tiger football beat reporter over at the Commercial Appeal. And Jonah, you wrote a great story about this relationship between true freshman Keondae Henry and transfer defensive back Kobe Minor. I had no idea that there was even a relationship there, but more of Keondae looks at Kobe Minor as an idol and kind of more of a mentor role. Tell me a little bit more about that relationship between those two players. And one comes in after decommitting, and as a true freshman, the other has been around the game of college football for a while, transferring in from Indiana. What is that relationship like?
Yeah, so definitely, like you said, go check out that story. It's really interesting, because it's just not the type of thing you hear about very often. Of the word that Keondae used, the word that I talked to Kobe's dad, and he used it idol. He idolizes Kobe Minor, and it's interesting now at this point where Kobe Minor is coming into this program, a program that badly needed production at the cornerback position, and he's somebody who was an honorable mention All Big Ten guy at Indiana last year. And so the fact that he's come here to be that kind of shutdown cornerback is huge for the program. And then you've got Keondae Henry, who I think, it's kind of gotten lost, especially with all the positive news that the Tigers have had recruiting-wise. Like, Keondae Henry, by most metrics, is one of the 10 best recruits in the history of this program. And he's coming in as a true freshman. He's a receiver from Lake Dallas High School, which is where Kobe also went. And, I'm not saying true freshmen have not played a lot under Ryan Silverfield, obviously with Seth Hennigan being the exception. And receiver is one of the deepest rooms that they have. So I'm not sure Keondae Henry is going to play a huge role this season, but he's obviously a name that I would get to know if I was a Tigers fan. And it's just one of those things where you see that kind of a relationship, and I think it's really interesting to see how that kind of plays out, because Keondae Henry committed here in December, and Kobe Minor was at his signing day, because obviously they have this close relationship, and he had no idea that he would be a teammate with them. They never actually were teammates in high school, because Kobe's 4 years above Keondae, so he had graduated by the time Keondae got to high school, and then they stayed close. And then you have this weird, this is what happens with the transfer portal. People take these journeys, and they end up in places they didn't expect to be, and now they're teammates, and they're teammates that, they could both play extremely critical roles, both this year and for the future of this program.
Yeah, so speaking of the stadium in itself, and not only the players and the fans kind of get used to it, have you ever experienced anything like this? Like, as far as ongoing renovations of a stadium while getting ready for a football season?
Yeah, I mean, I personally haven't. I think that if there are any Vanderbilt fans listening, they experienced it last year. And the thing that I noticed last year was it seemed like every single game Vanderbilt played, somebody who was a fan of the opposing team got to the stadium, hadn't heard that there was going to be construction there, saw a crane in the end zone, and posted it on social media, and it would go viral. Oh my God, there's a crane in the end zone. And I've kind of been bracing myself for this entire year for that to happen at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, and to have to write a story every week saying this is what's going on. There's construction. Half the stadium is not there, but it will be there in the future. Don't worry. And it's going to be unique. I mean, Florida State actually is also renovating their stadium, and they're going to have a similar makeup, I think. at least part of it is going to be under construction this season. And so obviously Memphis will see that on September 14th. But it's going to be something throughout the season. I think there's going to probably be some weird shots, both photos and, videos from the game where you can see somebody scoring a touchdown and then right behind them is like the parking lot, and so we'll see. Yeah, it'll be something to kind of always keep in the back of our minds during the season. But I'm guessing after the first game, at least the players and the coaches, they'll probably get used to it and they'll just get back to, obviously playing like it's a regular game.
Nah, I can imagine like some of the fans parked out and tailgating Tiger Lane. Like,
see it.
It's like, hey, no point of having the screen up. We got the big jumbotron right in front of us, and plus we can see part of the field.
Yeah, we can just watch the game from our tailgate. Now, Jonah, last thing for you before we let you go. You mentioned when talking about Keondae Henry, a guy that comes in and is a highly regarded recruit, but probably won't play a ton this year with how deep that wide receiver room is. But you said a guy that fans should get to know, remember the name. Is there a guy out there, maybe a couple guys on this team that you think that could be an impact player this year or make an impact on this team that you're not hearing many people talk about in the lead up to the first game?
Yeah, this year I think you look at those receivers, right? We all know Rock Taylor, Demir Blankowski, and Kobe Drake, right? We know them. They were there last year. They were 3 of the top receivers, and they're all back, and we're expecting to be the top 3. Now, behind them, there's spots up for grabs. Like Jair Shorter is somebody who's gotten some pretty good reviews during training camp. Jacoby Banks, Marcelo Bussi, who's been in the program, and somebody's going to have to step up. They're not just going to use 3 receivers, and I think that there's definitely potential to compete for snaps there. And because you look at the rest of the offense, we have a pretty good idea. Mario Anderson, Sutton Smith, Brandon Thomas are going to be involved at running back. Barring one of those guys going down with an injury, I wouldn't expect anyone else to play a major role. Receiver, there's going to be more. You got Anthony Lanfear at tight end who's back, and we know what he can do. So I think offensively, definitely those receivers are the guys I would get to know. And then defensively, I think you're going to see guys. There's just going to be a lot of new starters. Kobe Minor obviously is one of them. Reggie Grimes is another name I would get to know, who's a defensive end, and then obviously people have already know about Elijah Herring, who's transferred from Tennessee, who's expected to play a pretty big role at linebacker. But again, you're talking about really like significant pieces on defense at all 3 levels who are new. So integrating those guys is going to be something, and getting to know those guys will be kind of a storyline the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week as we'll really be previewing Game 1 against North Alabama.
It's already here.
That's right.
Can't wait.
It's crazy. Thanks, Jonah.
All right, thanks.
Jonah Dillon joining us from the Commercial Appeal, the Tiger football beat writer. It is hard to believe that it's already here, week 0 this Saturday, and then next week, you got games Thursday night, you got games Friday night, and then really everything kicks off on Saturday. But we need to go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we'll take one last look back at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square. Fun, friendly, exciting, and comfortable with wall-to-wall TVs for all your favorite games, 24 taps for all your favorite beers, including NA and local craft beers, and an in-front-of-the-wall full bar for all your other favorite beverages, including a full wine list. And in an upscale menu, patio seating, daily specials, and events, and you found all your sports in the one right place. The Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square, Highway 70.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off
you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-334-9673. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Staff Snoresworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time as we've got a couple minutes before we need to wrap up this first hour. We're going to talk about FedEx St. Jude Championship. It wrapped up yesterday afternoon at TPC Southwind. An unbelievable finish. Came down to the wire. A really fun weekend. But I'll be honest, one thing that I enjoyed watching, I probably paid attention more to it on Saturday when I wasn't actually at the golf tournament and I was just kind of watching it on TV. But I kind of kept up with it a little bit on Sunday as well. But kind of the game within the game of these players trying to make it into the top 50 or try to stay inside the top 50 to remain alive for this upcoming weekend's tournament, which is just top 50. We had top 70 here for our tournament. Now next week will just be top 50. So you saw a lot of guys, some guys very frustrated. I forgot who it was. It was before I headed up there yesterday. And somebody had just an awful 18. I mean, they just fell apart on 18 and ended up, I think, with a bogey. And that bogey kept them outside or moved them outside of the top 50. And you could see it. He was mad. He threw his ball into the water after 18. And, I mean, it was just really frustrated. So you saw stuff like that. You saw Nick Dunlap late yesterday, and I heard a lot of people talking about it around me. Connor even mentioned it before he realized what was going on. But on 18, that final group where it was Nick Dunlap and Hideki Matsuyama, Nick Dunlap is taking like a year to hit his ball. I mean, he's looking at it, he's setting it up, he's taking practice swings, he's stepping back, looking at it. We're going, all right, man, like, let's hit the ball. Well, what we didn't know is Nick Dunlap was like 47 in the top 50 or 48 in the top 50. So he needs to play good golf. He needs to finish strong in order to stay inside the top 50 and stay alive for next week. And so it was kind of fun keeping up with that and seeing who. I know Tom Kim had a bad day on Sunday and ended up falling out of the top 50. So, I know, Scotty Scheffler made the rounds with what he said earlier in the week of, the way the FedEx Cup playoffs, it's kind of silly. But I do enjoy kind of that competition, that kind of game within the game of these guys trying to get in, stay inside that top 50, and the next week it'll be that top 30.
Yeah, and even like guys like Rory, who had like a bad tournament overall, from his standards at least. I mean, he's still top 10, top 5.
It's incredible. Like, I mean, those guys that are up there, it's hard to get them to move it.
Yeah. Now what's more impressive about Nick Dunlap is that his first win.
Yeah.
His first win on the tour, he was an amateur earlier this year, and then he finally made the decision to go pro.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a win since that.
He does.
He does.
He's won 2 this year. One as an amateur and one as a pro.
Okay, so he has one other win besides the one he won as an amateur.
Yeah.
Everything else is like you just gotta play pretty good golf to be consistent enough, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's remarkable like watching him because you think this young guy that was an amateur, was in college, and goes out and wins as an amateur, and then goes out and wins again. And like it's just crazy to watch, and the fact that he is still as high as he is, he's 48th right now.
Yeah.
In FedEx, so like I said, was right there. Had to finish big in that final round yesterday, but still to kind of be in that final group and with Hideki, kind of fell apart in that last round. I shouldn't say fell apart, but just didn't have a great fourth round.
Yeah.
So, it's impressive just to watch him, how young he is. To see him continue to do this, I thought was really fun. I think, is going to be a guy that, in 2 to 3 years, we could be talking about one of the better golfers on tour being Nick Dunlap, and how young he is. That would, I think, be remarkable to see.
Yeah, definitely need the influx of young talent on the PGA.
I feel like they have that. Like
they do.
That was one of the storylines that I was really paying attention to going into the tournament. It's a lot of these young guys. You got Nick Dunlap, you've got Akshay Bhatia, you got Ludwig Aubert, you've got Thigala, you've
Davis
got,
Thompson.
Yeah, so I mean you've got a lot of guys that are young, 20 some odd years old, 22, 23, 24 years old, out on tour, and they're in the top 70 and they're competing, they're in the top 50. And so that's great for the game of golf because you look at LIV, and that was another thing. Did you know that in LIV yesterday there was a playoff between Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm?
Did not know that.
Nobody has a clue. And I think that is definitely good for the PGA because I think that was the fear is LIV is taking all the big golfers. They're going to take all the young golfers that are going to be big golfers in the future. And the fact that yesterday everyone's out at TPC Southwind, everyone in the golf world is watching what's happening at Southwind with the PGA Tour and their playoffs. And while that's going on, I would say 2 of the biggest golfers in the world, Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka, are in a playoff on LIV, and I didn't know about it until late last night when I finally saw somebody post about it and was like, oh, look at these 2 guys in a playoff on LIV. So I think PGA is in a fine spot right now. We mentioned you look at those young guys, and I think there's going to be some good, young, talented players that are coming through and are going to be names that people want to watch in these next couple of years, which is definitely great for the game of golf. But definitely a fun tournament over the weekend. Hideki Matsuyama with the win. Said he was going to celebrate today with Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. He loves Chick-fil-A. Who doesn't?
I
I forget about that. I'm sorry, Zach. I forget about that. You and your vegan ways. Vegetarian. I always say vegan, don't I?
Come on.
It's my fault. Let's go ahead and wrap up this hour and get to a break. And when we come back, we're talking college football and college basketball with David Cobb.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Rick's Powder Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com. Everyone loves home improvement. South Haven Supply and Warehouse 51 makes it easy. A real hardware store run by 3 generations of a real hardware family where you can get it on. Whether it's repairs, remodeling, or new building, kitchens, bathrooms, tiles, tubs, vanities, sinks, mirrors, lighting, furniture, even door hardware. All the latest designs as well as timeless classics. And if outdoor fun is on your mind, they have the big green egg and accessories. South Haven Supply and Warehouse 51, 8560 Highway 51. Easy home improvement.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianellerroofing.com.
It's rainy season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights, open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Getting engaged is one of life's most spectacular occasions. And when you find your ring at Sissy's Log Cabin, the promise of a lifetime begins with our promise to always provide unmatched quality, superior service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Find your dream engagement ring, wedding bands, and more when you shop Sissy'sLogCabin.com or stop by one of our 6 locations. Begin the rest of your line in brilliant, only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting to crank up out here on all the major outbound routes as we get into the full swing here of rush hour traffic. Still moving into construction over here at the moment. It's been hit and miss today over there on 55 northbound between Macklemore and South Parkway. Moving at the moment on 240 eastbound from Mill Branch out to 385. Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service family owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. David, we finally got college football here. Saturday starts week 0 with a big game to start the morning between Florida State and Georgia Tech. What do you think about this matchup? A Florida State team that's bringing in DJU. Mike Norvell has been very successful since he's taken over at Florida State, going up against a Georgia Tech team that you saw real progress last year under Brent Key. What do you think both of these teams could be in the 2024 season?
Yeah, it's a low-key important game. A conference opener, week 0. I mean, It's like you got to be ready to go.
In Dublin.
In Dublin, no less. Super random. It's also kind of a tease because that you get that game at 12 Eastern, 11 Central. And then, yes, there are other games, but they are not appealing matchups throughout the rest of the day. So you start out with your main course, and then you work backwards, and the slate gets progressively worse as the day goes on. But yeah, it's exciting to start out with a game that has some stakes on it, especially you think about it from a local perspective. You want to get that first look at Florida State if you're Memphis, because you're going down there to play them pretty early in the year. So a good local interest angle there for that game. But, I mean, I think it should be a pretty good game. Georgia Tech is they've got a tough, really tough schedule, but they're a tough team. So it's one of those deals where they're going to be in a lot of games, but they're going to be underdogs in a lot of games this year, and obviously that's the case for them against FSU. So, I mean, I think I like FSU to win. They're the better team, more talented, but Georgia Tech has made strides, has made progress. So it should be a relatively interesting first game.
David, what storylines are you interested to kind of keep an eye on and keep a watch as the season progresses?
Oh, man. There's so many. Like, we're submitting our conference and national predictions right now for CBS that are all going to roll out over the next week or so. And I'm just so excited for the expansion of the playoff and the hope that it's going to bring to so many teams throughout the season. Because to me, it's not just about the 12 who make the field. It's about the 25 or 30 who still have a chance come November. And that's so different than any other season that we've ever had in college football before. And so I'm excited about all the games that are going to have such massive stakes throughout the season. And obviously the downside of that is some of the do-or-die scenarios are weeded out, because like week one when Georgia and Clemson play, the loser of that game is still going to have a really, really good chance of making the college football playoff. But I still see a lot of stakes even in a game like that, because you win that game, you put yourself in prime position to get a bye or to host a game in the CFP. And so all the newness of this season is what's got me excited. It's the expansion of the playoff, the new conferences, and that's just the tip of the iceberg really in college sports right now with all the changes. But those two things in particular, yeah, they've got me pretty fired up for this season.
David, I know a lot of the teams that you hear talked about in terms of the group of 5 spot. Memphis is certainly in there. Boise State and Liberty, that really feels like the top 3 teams. But a team that I threw out there, Brett and I have kind of talked about it, when you look at their schedule, when you look at what they did last year, when you see the quarterback that they brought in Jordan McLeod, Texas State is a team that I think people should keep an eye on in terms of the group of 5. And now today I see Brett McMurphy from The Athletic. He put out his bowl projections for week 0, and he has Texas State as the group of 5 representative for the college football playoff. What do you think about this Texas State team going into the 2024 season, and do you think they could make a push to be that group of 5 representative?
They kind of remind me of South Florida a little bit from the AAC. They've got a pass-happy, young, rising star head coach. Texas State, it's G.J. Kinney. At South Florida, it's Alex Golesh. They both have star quarterbacks. You mentioned Jordan McLeod, obviously, there at Texas State. So I would side more with South Florida being that sleeper team, from the group of 5.
I like that one, too.
Yeah, I think the AAC is a little stronger, obviously. But I mean, I like the pick. I mean, I think they're clearly Texas State is going in the right direction. Not sure if they're quite there yet in terms of crashing that party, but that's a good sort of ID there by you guys in terms of a team that is going to be in the mix and kind of a sleeper from the group of 5, because that team, that program had never won a bowl game. I don't think they'd ever even been to a bowl game before last season. They do that a year ago, and now they bring a lot back from that team. So it's they're certainly one to watch.
When you look at this Memphis Tiger football schedule, because you mentioned USF, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing that I've kind of noticed about this Tiger schedule, I think Memphis is going to be a really good team. I think they've got a great shot of making the college football playoffs. But when you look in conference, they've got to go on the road to South Florida, they've got to go on the road to UTSA, and they've got to go on the road to Tulane. You kind of hinted at this last week when we were talking to you about teams and their win totals for this upcoming season. But those are 3 tough games, maybe underrated tough games on the road for the Tigers this year.
They are. I mean, that's the hang-up and the problem with predicting Memphis to make the college football playoff, is because there's a decent chance they could have 3 losses. And they could still make the AAC title game with 3 losses, potentially, because one of those is likely going to be at Florida State, which isn't going to count against your league win total. But you got at South Florida, at UTSA, and at Tulane, as you mentioned. Well, pretty much you got to go 2-1 against those games, against those teams, and win every other league game in order to be there at the end on Selection Sunday as a 2-loss team. This is assuming that you don't go down to Tallahassee and beat Florida State. So, I mean, it's not easy. Like, I think the odds, like, I think we've gotten ahead of ourselves a little bit with Memphis and the college football playoff. Is it possible? Yes. But would I say it's likely or probable? No, I wouldn't, because this is not an easy schedule. There are tough games on the schedule, and then you kind of look when I look at schedules. I look as much at who you have to play, and then I also look at who you don't have to play, or in this case, who you don't get to play. And you look at Memphis, and you don't get to play Temple, and so that's your pushover from the AAC. You don't get to play Tulsa, which is another one of those teams that shouldn't be very good, and like you don't have the built-in advantage of playing that team, and so that's another area where I look at the Memphis schedule, and I think it's actually a little bit tougher than what meets the eye. It's not only that you have to play some of the tougher teams in the league on the road, which you do, it's that you don't get to play two of the arguably worst teams in the conference as well, and so that's a bit of a hindrance.
So, David, we asked Jonah about the stadium. Have you ever had to cover a game where the stadium is being currently renovated, where you had to sit and think to yourself man, there used to be seats.
I'm in a construction zone.
Yeah,
no, I have not. However, I did get to be at Auburn one year when they had just finished their new press box, and they didn't have it figured out yet, and they had me literally behind a cement column, so I couldn't see the field, and I just went up to the food area and watched the game on TV. So I've had my fair share of challenging press box environments. But you know what? Memphis isn't the only one in that boat. But not even in Tennessee. Vanderbilt's under renovation this year as well. So I might be checking out a game there at some point this year, and maybe I'll have that experience for the first time. And shoot, maybe I should get over to Memphis. I mean, it's obviously a huge year for the program. So there's two that I might be covering games at this year that are both in that situation with Memphis and Vanderbilt. And it's kind of a bummer, obviously, with this being such a banner year for the program that it's a year where the stadium is under renovation. But I don't know. Do you guys know when they are on TV, when Memphis is playing on TV this year, is the camera going to show the side that's under renovation, or is the camera going to show the side that is normal and has fans inside of it? Because I think that would be much preferred over the ESPN broadcast showing you renovations for basically the entire game.
David, that's a great question. I'm not for sure because the camera's usually on the side that they're doing construction on, and so you see the other side. But I know that when the USFL came in, they were able to rig it up and have a camera on the other side.
Right.
So I have no idea. I don't know which side it will be on. But that is an important question.
Yeah. I think it's going to be tough to put a camera where there's an empty hole.
Yeah, so it might be, you might just be looking at a parking lot when you're in the background when you're watching Tiger football games.
Now, David, I know you've been a former Memphian, and I know you didn't go to school at the University of Memphis, but I'm more than sure you've been inside the Liberty Bowl as a, other than a media member, having to cover the game. As a Memphian myself, looking at the updates of this stadium, it's it's almost like you kind of have a little bit of nostalgia with it in a sense, because now what was a super old stadium is now about to get renovated. Do you kind of feel the same way in that boat a little bit?
Maybe a little, but at the same time, I'm super excited to see what it's like updated and renovated and modernized. It does sort of have that old school charm, if you will, and we lose some of that in college sports now with these $100 million stadium projects that make everything feel just like a luxury suite, kind of. So, in a sense, I definitely get where you're coming from, but I just think the upside is so obvious and significant for Memphis with this project. And on the one sense, if the camera is on the side where it's going to be showing you a parking lot or showing you a crane or whatever, like that's not ideal, but it does remind everybody who tunes in, like, oh wow, they're doing something here, like that. You know, they're making this stadium into something. Like I think everybody would prefer that fans are shown, but if that's not the case, and they are showing the renovations with every play, that's not the worst thing because it's a gentle reminder to the world that, like, hey, Memphis is under construction and on its way up.
Yeah. David, I want to ask you one more college football question, then we got to get to college basketball because we have Maui first-round matchups released earlier today. So I want to get to that. Final. I've been waiting on pins and needles for a month now. Earlier today over on CBS Sports, y'all released the ACC expert picks for 2024. Y'all went most overrated team, most underrated team, bold predictions, and the projected order from top to bottom in the ACC. Your bold prediction was the U is back, which I know makes our friend Jay Morgan very happy reading that. We've talked about that with you the last couple of weeks, but something we haven't talked about is the teams that you put as overrated and underrated. For overrated, you have Duke, and for underrated, you have Stanford, one of the new teams coming in. Will be very difficult for them playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference, even though they're on the complete other side of the country. What were your reasons behind Duke being too overrated and Stanford being underrated?
Well, Duke lost its head coach, first off, Mike Elko, who is going back to Texas A&M now as the head coach after he was the defensive coordinator. And he did an amazing job at Duke. And then Duke also loses its quarterback, Riley Leonard. And this is a tough schedule. One, they play almost everyone who they play is projected to finish as one of the top 8 or 9 teams in the league. So it's just a brutal draw, first off. So those are a couple of things right out of the gate. First-year coach with a tough schedule. I mean, that's that. And then you lose a lot of production, too. And so it's I just think there's an even tougher build or learning curve for the academic first programs in this era who can't just snap their fingers and NIL their way back to being competitive.
Right.
And I think what Mike Elko did there was kind of an aberration, largely due to Riley Leonard, who is now the quarterback at Notre Dame, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country in 2022 when Duke had a really good first year under Mike Elko. And so I think people just assume that, oh yeah, Manny Diaz, he's been an ACC head coach before. Duke shouldn't fall off that far. I think when you assume that, you're not looking at their schedule and you're not taking into account the challenges that these types of programs face in this era. So I realize it's hypocritical for me to then turn around and say Stanford is underrated because Stanford has all of those same challenges, but they're in year 2 now under Troy Taylor, and their schedule's a little bit more favorable than Duke's at least, and they bring so much back that this is a team that beat Colorado, that was in some other games against really good teams, and so there's this assumption that Stanford's never going to be good again, but yeah, they might not be as good as they were under Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw, but I think this is a Stanford team that can certainly do better than last or next to last in the ACC.
I like that. Talking to David Cobb, he joins us every single Monday from CBS Sports, talk some college football and college basketball. I mentioned it, the Maui, at least first round. I've not seen a complete bracket yet, but at least we know the first round matchups in Maui. And the Memphis Tigers, of course, get UConn, the back-to-back champions in college basketball. I've been asked, Johnny Radio asked me earlier, a couple other people have asked me about this UConn team and what to expect, because you look at them on paper, they lost, 4 of their top 5 scorers from last year's teams, some big-time players from that national championship group. What will this UConn team look like this year?
It's still going to be really good. So obviously the top storylines to recognize there with UConn are, one, they were able to keep their coach. Hurley was obviously pursued by the Los Angeles Lakers. He turned down the Lakers to return to UConn. So that tells you a lot about what he thinks about this team, because if he thought the bottom was going to fall out of this UConn team, I think he would have said, yeah, sure, I'll go coach LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But he's got Alex Caravan back, so that's the anchor of this team. And then it's sort of that really nice blend that you often see with championship caliber teams where you got returning players, incoming transfers, and star freshmen. He's got that blend. So even though they lost 4 starters, they bring back Caravan, and then they bring back some guys who were really key bench players on last year's team. So I think UConn is a consensus top 5 team, and honestly kind of exciting that Memphis gets to test itself early against a team like that, because there's no harm in it. You lose to UConn, so what?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not going to hurt you at all. It's in fact, even a competitive loss against UConn on a neutral floor kind of just helps you, really, I feel like. So, it's a UConn team that I don't think is going to win the national title. I think it's a UConn team that's going to be more like a 2 or a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. But, man, they are not going to fall off by much.
I think another thing that I'm really excited about, you talk about UConn, seeing them early in the season. You can kind of test yourself and see where you stand against a team of that caliber like UConn. It was also announced today that Memphis will play a preseason exhibition, a charity exhibition against Alabama in Huntsville. I think October 28th that game will be played on. And this is an Alabama team that I think a lot of people, when we start seeing these preseason predictions, are going to have Alabama very high up there, and I expect some people to have them winning the national championship. What do you think about this Alabama team and the fact that Nate Oates and Penny Hardaway are coming together for an exhibition game before the season?
I love it. I think it's awesome. I like that we're doing more of these preseason games in college basketball. It's fun, and it's helpful for the teams involved because they get to test themselves against high caliber competition. And I think in Memphis's case, it's especially important because you have to be ready out of the gate at Memphis. We've talked about it before, but it bears repeating that when you are at Memphis and you are in such a weak conference now, you have to put your hay in the barn and build your resume in November and December. No, you have to. If you want to have any chance of making an at-large candidacy for the NCAA tournament, you can't wait until conference play to make your move because there's no move to be made in conference play. From an NCAA tournament resume perspective, you have to be ready to go in November and December. And one way to do that is go to test yourself in a game that doesn't even count against a team like Alabama, who, as you mentioned, very well could be a national title pick, for a lot of folks nationally. Because you get Mark Sears back, you get Grant Nelson back, you add in some stud transfers, more really high caliber recruits. I mean, Nate Oates has that thing rolling. They're going to be everyone's pick to win the SEC. Probably hands down, probably about as close to unanimous of a preseason pick as you get in SEC basketball since John Calipari's heyday at Kentucky. So it's wow, that's an awesome ad for Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, no, I love that one. Last thing for you, David, over on CBS Sports, y'all's basketball team put together a Candid Coaches where the question was asked, who was college basketball's best high major coaching hire of 2024, and the coaches, 43.4% of them said John Calipari and his move to Arkansas. Behind him, 21.7% said Dusty May, obviously from FAU to Michigan, and then coming in third place, Mark Pope, who went to Kentucky from BYU. He got 8.5%. And a guy I'm really excited about, Pat Kelsey, going from Charleston to Louisville, he got 4.7%. If you were a coach, David, how would you have voted on that question?
Yeah, I was surprised to see Cal win that by such a landslide.
Oh, yeah.
I almost wonder if when the coaches were answering this, they just jumped to the first name they could remember.
Yeah, just the biggest name out there, John Calipari. Sure, yeah, write that one down.
Yeah, like was that the most high-profile coaching hire? Yeah, sure. But was it the best coaching hire? I don't know. I mean, does Calipari still have his fastball? Does he know how to do this at the absolute elite level in this era? I mean, honestly, I would have been more inclined to vote for the guy he's replacing.
Yeah.
I think USC landing Eric Musselman is a clear upgrade over what they had in Andy Enfield. And I mean, Enfield was fine. USC was good. They certainly weren't great though under Andy Enfield, and I think they've got a chance to be great now under Eric Musselman. So I mean, he was way down there in the others receiving votes category. Like, barely worth mentioning but by his peers, which I think is interesting. I mean, I would be insulted by that if I were Eric Musselman. I mean, come on, he took Arkansas to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament 3 times in 5 years. Took him to a couple of the Elite Eights, and now he's going out there to USC. And I think he's already got a roster that should be competitive in the Big Ten. So, I mean, I probably would have voted for Muss in that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good pick because, that's kind of been one of the things I've heard a lot of people say is, Eric Musselman, he was great at Arkansas, but, things kind of, went awry last year, and now kind of going back to the West Coast where he's a lot more comfortable than kind of down here in the South. I feel like he'll be more comfortable, can maybe recruit better in California. So, yeah, I like that pick, and you're right, because when you said Eric Musselman, I've got it pulled up right here, and I go, well, that's a great answer, but I don't see him on this list at all. And you're right, is the second to last coach mentioned in others receiving votes. So he is way down there. I think that others receiving vote might just be in alphabetical order. But either way, he's way down there in that group. So you're absolutely right. I love that pick. But David, as always, love having you on every single Monday. When should we expect? Is there kind of an expected date for your win totals to come out?
They are out.
Oh, they are out. Okay.
Yes. So I've got 7 or 8 on the card this year. Came out last week. I've been pretty hot on these the last couple of years. So go check those out. Right. They are live. You got to get them too. The juice might be moving.
That's right.
The lines are fluttering as the season approaches. So yeah, they are available.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm excited. Week 0 this week, and it's going to be a ton of fun. David, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next Monday.
Yeah, no problem. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, David. David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. And make sure you go and check out those win totals. He told us last week, in the last 2 years, he's like 10 bets. He's 7 wins and 3 pushes on his win total. So good stuff from David Cobb. You definitely want to make sure you get that before the season starts. But let's go ahead and get to another break. And when we come back, it was a busy weekend in Major League Baseball. We'll talk about what happened over the weekend and what we're looking forward to this week with the action. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Continues to maintain a small-town personal charm while providing a worldwide connection through its internet marketing presence. Personal service will never go out of style at Banyan Tree Realtors. Their agents are people you can trust, offering service you deserve. From residential homes to commercial properties, farmland, land lots, and historical houses, Banyan Tree has the expertise you can rely on. So if you're downsizing, upsizing, moving in, or moving on, give Banyan Tree Realtors a call today. Craig Smith and Mary Jean Smith and their agents are ready to serve you. Call today at 901-620-8920 or 901-359-2520.
I felt like we were really lucky to have a place like Genesis. There are several jewelry stores, I know, but I don't think any of them can match up to Genesis.
Meet Beth Gear, another thrilled Genesis Diamonds customer.
Yeah, the whole experience was wonderful. I felt really super comfortable, and I felt confident that we were getting the best deal for the money, too.
But for Beth, it was more than just getting a great price.
I'd say the value was extraordinary. Even if the price had been slightly more, I think we would have still chosen Genesis just because we felt that there really was a personal connect. We felt like they really wanted us to be happy.
Genesis Diamonds, where you and your budget are respected from the minute you walk in.
No matter what your budget is, Genesis will work with you. They never make you feel uncomfortable if you don't have a budget. They are respectful of our budget and need to stay within it.
Discover the Genesis difference, where we will be proud to show up.
I always tell people to shop at Genesis because I want them to have the same experience.
support a great cause during the sales drive at Landers Ford in Collierville, Landers Ford South in South Haven, and Landers Ford North in Covington. We've provided over 100 new Fords to be driven by the pros at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Now they're all being sold with demo prices. That's right. Over 100 new Fords driven by the pros are being sold with demo pricing below market value. A portion of the proceeds go directly to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. This is a once-a-year opportunity to trade up and drive like a pro while supporting a great cause. Visit LandersMemphis.com. That's LandersMemphis.com. Or come see us at Landers Ford in Collierville, Landers Ford South in South Haven, or Landers Ford North in Covington. With our Landers Easy Pass, you can get top dollar for your trade-in to help you save even more. Don't miss your chance. Reserve your demo price new Ford driven by a pro at the FedEx St. Jude Championship and lock in low APR financing. Remember, if it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
They can't get that Central Barbecue location on Central back open soon enough.
It's still going to be a little while. They do things right at Central Barbecue. That's why every location is so unique.
I know, but there's a lot of different Central Barbecue locations. But I miss the OG, the Central Barbecue on Central.
You know, it's going to be completely different.
Well, not completely.
Yeah, when the Central Barbecue location on Central reopens, it'll be bigger, nicer, more streamlined.
But still on Central.
That's about the only thing. For the time being, until they tell us different, you can't go wrong with any of the Central Barbecue locations.
You know, I think we broke out a record for saying Central Barbecue the most times in a Central Barbecue commercial.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of minor accidents being sorted out here just in the last few minutes. It's trying its best to get busy already over here on 240 East up by Poplar, making your way up to Walnut Grove. 240 as you hop on there to 385 Billmore's Parkway, headed on out into Collierville. Looks pretty good right now. Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64, is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Zach with you. We're in our Family Leisure studios. We got to talk some Major League Baseball. It was a busy weekend in the world of Major League Baseball, but maybe the biggest news, the Atlanta Braves have announced that Austin Riley, who got injured in the game yesterday, underwent an MRI today that revealed a right hand fracture. He is expected to miss approximately 6 to 8 weeks. So the injuries just keep on coming for the Atlanta Braves. I've made this comparison, Zach, that this season for the Braves feels a lot like this season for the Memphis Grizzlies, because it just seems like injury after injury after injury for both teams. I think both teams had high expectations going into the season, and baseball's a little bit different because it's 100, forever game season, and things can happen.
Right,
if you have injuries by, if you have injuries game 1, by game 162, you might be healthy, right? And so it's a little bit different than basketball, and a lot, different things can happen. Mm-hmm. A team with a bunch of injuries in basketball, like we saw with the Grizzlies, a lot harder for them to win games. Whereas in Major League Baseball, if you catch the right break, you can win games. Yeah. But I just feel like in terms of injuries, feels like just like the Grizzlies, where all of the optimism at the beginning of the season, when those injuries came, felt like that balloon was popped. It feels like the same thing with the Atlanta Braves. While they're still in second right now in their division, feels like that balloon is popped. Nobody has those same expectations that they had before the season. And now you got Austin Riley, who's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, Zach, 6 to 8 weeks from now.
That's practically the regular season.
Yeah, that's postseason. I mean, we're talking the very end of the regular season. So it's been a rough year for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that with Major League Baseball, if you put a player on a DL, you can get a player back. In basketball, you have to have at least 3 players to be even available to even get a injury exemption. So, I mean, despite the amount of injuries, you lose Ronald Acuna Jr. early in the year. Obviously, Austin Riley's been a power hitter. He was hurt most of the year. Came back, almost seemed like he was getting ready to go on that magical run that he had last year, and he gets hurt. Even what's the second baseman that I'm drawing a blank on? Ozzie Albies. Yeah. So all of their main guys are getting hurt. The guys that you typically lean on, they're getting hurt. So, but I mean, with the way their farm system has been, they've always managed to have good players come up and being contributors. So it's like it's kind of like twofold. The pitching has held up. I mean, obviously, you would have loved to have Spencer Strider to kind of be in this rotation, losing him early in the year. But so far, Sale, Max Fried. Am I missing somebody else on that pitching staff? I think those are the main. Those are the 2 guys that's been holding it up.
Ronaldo Lopez.
Lopez
he actually
as well.
Just came back from injury. He's just got activated today on the roster, so he'll be back. He's been good. He's been kind of one of the stories of the season for the Braves, because a guy that was completely out of the bullpen last year, and this year because of injuries, like you mentioned, they said, we need another arm. Yeah, we need you to be a starter for us. And for a while, was going 6-7 innings and had a 2 ERA, looked great. So getting him back will definitely help. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like they can't catch a break this year.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just hoping to get your guys back in healthy. I mean, baseball is one of those weird sports where you can. Well, if you get 1 or 2 players catching fire at the same time going into postseason play, you can make a deep run.
Right.
But looking at the outlook of the Braves, I think they'll make it, but it's gonna be like, the skin of their teeth almost in a sense.
No, I think you're right, and I would say right now I would think it's far less likely that they make it out of the wild card. Something else I saw, and I saw this last week while we were at the golf tournament, and really didn't have time to bring it up, and so I want your thoughts on this. I don't know if you've seen it. Major League Baseball is reportedly discussing a 6-inning minimum for starting pitchers. The exceptions for this is if the starting pitcher throws 100 pitches, gives up 4 or more earned runs, or gets injured with a required IL stint to avoid manipulation.
I mean, well, here's the thing. To be fair, with MLB, I wasn't really sure how the pitch clock was going to work out.
It's been great,
but it's been seamless.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be against it because as I sit and think about it, because right now with the White Sox, Garrett Crochet is on a innings pitch limit with 4. He hasn't cracked over 4 in the last month or so.
It's crazy.
And so with that rule there in place, you can see Garrett back out on the mound 2 more innings than he normally would, because it's not his fault that the team sucks when he's actually performing well, but the team obviously looking at a much outer look, looking after for his health in that sense. But I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I would like to see it in action just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But considering that starting pitching is a problem right now in Major League Baseball, because it's almost like every single year you're losing like a handful of your top flighted pitchers to these Tommy John, to these arm related injuries.
Yeah.
That's the only pushback that I can probably give with that.
Right. Well, and that's a good question. And I wanted to do it today, and I didn't have enough time, and so it might be my homework tonight. I want to go through and look at all these teams and see, their starting pitchers, how long right now in the season.
Yeah.
How long are these guys going? Because I think you're right, especially at the beginning of the season, you're seeing a lot of teams trying to kind of slowly work their guys into 6 innings. And so early in the season, they'll go 5 innings. They'll go 5 1/3. They'll go 4 innings. And then as the season progresses, you'll see them go 6, 7 innings. And so that's a big thing. The injuries, I think, is another big thing, because I think you're seeing more teams be careful with pitchers because of the fear of Tommy John and all of these injuries. I remember, and I bring it up all the time, I heard an interview with Jeff Passan at the beginning of this year where, I think it was on the station I listened to up in Seattle, and he does a regular hit up there, and they kind of asked him, this was after like Spencer Strider went out with the Tommy John, and a couple other big-time pitchers went out with Tommy John injuries, and they asked him, they were like, what can teams do to prevent Tommy John injuries with these pitchers? And he said that he had been talking to doctors, he had been talking to people within Major League Baseball organizations, and that the consensus he had gotten was that every pitcher would have at least one Tommy John surgery at the end of the day. That it's just the way guys are throwing now, how hard they're throwing now, it's almost unavoidable. And so, you're kind of trying to play that game then of, if they're going to have it, when do you want them to have it?
Yeah.
Do you want it early in their career? Do you want it late in their career?
Now,
how do you want it to go?
Now, I will say this, and I think the baseball purists are probably not going to like this idea for me.
Okay.
Let's doctor the baseball. It got doctored at one point a couple of seasons ago.
Sure.
Where you saw a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of offense.
Sure.
And to now at this point, in the last couple of seasons, you're seeing a lot more home runs being put in the outfields now than it was like a few seasons ago.
Right.
Doctor the baseball.
Sure.
Add a little bit more grip to the ball.
Yeah.
I just don't there is a way of doing it in my mind.
And that's, I don't know if you call it a conspiracy theory, but that's one of the things is, what was it, last year or the year before, where they really cracked down on, the foreign substances and stuff. And there were a lot of pitchers that were saying, if you're just, throwing a completely
slick baseball,
with nothing on it, there's going to be a lot of injuries, because the way when you're trying to grip that and throw it and hold on to it and throw the way you're trying to throw, what it does to your elbow is, there's going to be a lot more injuries. And so I would, the only reason I say it's more of a conspiracy theory is because I don't know one way or the other if that's true or not. That might just be a pitcher saying, I just like to throw with a little bit of spider tack
Hey,
on.
listen, man, but bring back the pine tar for the pitchers, man.
I'm with it.
I don't think it's hurting, but I understand why they're cracking down on these rules, though.
I remember Glasnow happily outed himself.
Oh yeah.
To
I never
promote
pitch
that.
without anything.
He got hurt, and he happily outed himself as using spider tack because it helped him in his arm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good question. And so I'm curious with this, because I was, when I was thinking this morning about what are we going to talk about today, and with baseball in particular, I wanted to bring this story up, and so I was kind of thinking about it, and I hadn't gone back to read the story, and I was like, well, here's the thing, is if that did happen, and they put that in and said, guys got to go 6 innings, you're going to see a lot of coaches, managers, going out there and saying, he's got, elbow inflammation, elbow tightness, forearm tightness. We gotta get him out.
Tricep, type of
an injury that's day to day, and then 5 days later, 6 days later,
he's okay.
He's fine. He can pitch today. But this, very clearly says gets injured with a required IL stint, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's what if a guy's up there And he's like, my arm does not feel right. I don't want to pitch anymore because I could injure it worse.
Right.
But he is acknowledged, because you see that a lot where guys are like, something happened, it doesn't feel right, I just need to go out. And it's like a day-to-day injury. It's nothing crazy. Are we saying that can't be taken out because that wouldn't be an IL stint? Are we saying that guy's just got to keep throwing? And I'm sure this is something that would get ironed out before this rule came into play. But I am curious. I'm going to do a little more research on this now that I have a little more time.
Unless MLB decides to bring their own medical staff to each clubhouse.
They've got like a Major League Baseball doctor that goes out there on all the mound
re-examine.
Yeah.
They'd be like, he's all right. Yeah, you send him back out there.
Get him out there.
What you mean? What you mean, man?
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be interesting. I think something came out because it's very clearly, Major League Baseball is completely fine with making changes to the game. We've seen them, like you mentioned, with the pitch clock that I think has worked. I don't think now, with all the pitchers used to it, you don't even notice it. There's not many pitch clock violations. It's really something that everyone has kind of gotten used to. The bigger bases has not really been a big issue. There are things, the shift, really, it hasn't been too noticeable. And so I think with the rules maybe working out in favor of Major League Baseball, they might be more open to doing different things. And so I would not be surprised with the moves they've already made. I would not be surprised if we saw this.
Yeah, start in the minors, let us see it.
That's a great point.
Use that as your testing ground to kind of see.
Because they've done that with everything else.
Yeah. And then once you kind of feel like get enough data to know, like, hey, this could work.
They can't do that, though. They can't start out off in the minors.
Why?
Teams would hate that. You've got a pitching prospect. Look at Paul Skeens, for example. Paul Skeens, when he was throwing in AAA, he's going 3 innings. They're getting him out of there. And that's a lot of the top pitchers. Teams would not like that. If you're saying you got to throw your top prospect 6 innings in this game,
and if he's hurt, you got to sit him out for 10 games.
This is a rule. If they want to do it, you just got to throw it in the minors or in the majors. You cannot start this in the minors. No chance.
That's going to be crazy, though. It's going to be crazy.
I think it's going to happen, though, honestly.
Just go straight to the minors just to see?
No, just majors. I think it's going to go straight to
majors.
Yeah. I don't know.
No data included.
I think this is like a 2-year thing. They might try doing the minors, but there's going to be a lot of pushback if they do.
Well, why don't you just do it in like the lower A minor? The lower A, the single A, high A, whatever.
I mean, you still got young guys down there. I mean, like Paul Skeens was kind of that guy that started off in Double A, but like a lot of guys will start off in Single A, and so I still don't know if teams would want to throw their guys that much. I mean, it's an interesting question, and I don't know. I really hope it doesn't become a thing because I don't think you should have these requirements on how long pitchers should go. But it's definitely interesting that it's even out there as an idea from Major League Baseball. But we need to go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for unlimited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Witten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
Sunrise Summer Sale at Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. Get up to $11,000 off MSRP with royalty on a new loaded 24 Sierra 1500. Or choose new GMC Sierra 2500 heavy duty at $7,000 off MSRP. Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. We are professional brands.
Does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer dock fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Light duty RG $245,378 in transit. MSRP $90,475. Dealer discount $57.50. Factory rebate $27.50. Loyalty $2,500. Must own 2010 or newer Buick or GMC vehicle. Heavy duty RF $381,279 in transit. MSRP $97,330. Dealer discount $7,000. Expires 9/3/24.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
Right now at Wendy's, you can get a small Frosty for $1, and literally everyone is going. The car behind you, going to get a $1 Frosty. The car ahead of you, already had one, going for second. The person who cut you off earlier, you guessed it, $1 Frosty. Maybe it's all a sign for you to go get one. Just don't cut anyone off. No one likes that person. The iconic Frosty for $1, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Not valid in a combo. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, California, and via third-party delivery.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
Listen up, I got Marty McNate on the line at Gossett Volkswagen, Germantown. Marty, you might be too busy moving back prices over there. What's up?
Going way back, Randy. Doc's orders. I've got 2024 Teos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport. Got to go back in time to get the good old days at $275 a month.
Great Scott, McNate. Plus, I hear the 2024 Atlas Peak editions are going for $5,000 off MSRP or 1.9 for 60 months.
That's right, Randy. During the Volkswagen Savvy Summer Sales event, your future is whatever you make of it. So go to Gossett Volkswagen Germantown at 7420 Winchester Road or shop online at GossettVWG.com.
Ask for Marty to find out how much he can move you back on price. That's Gossett Volkswagen, 7420 Winchester Road. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, my big number comes from Major League Baseball, and it is the number 23. With one more stolen base in 2024, a lot of games to be played. They left in 2024. Elly De La Cruz of the Reds would become the 5th Major League Baseball player to have a season with at least 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases. So he'd be the 5th player ever in Major League Baseball history to have at least 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases. But he would become the first to do so before turning 23 years old. How about that?
How about that?
That is incredible.
That is interesting.
He's a fun player. So with all that being said, I've already bet on him to have stolen base tonight in tonight's game.
I hope so for my fantasy team purposes.
Plus 125.
Who they playing today?
You know, that is a great question. I just bet on them to have a stolen base, Zach. I didn't worry myself about who they're playing, please.
You should.
The Blue Jays.
Blue Jays?
On the road against the Blue Jays.
On the road against the Blue Jays?
Slap a single out there and then take second.
I can see it.
Heck, I mean...
I can see it.
Hit a double and steal third. I mean, he's not afraid to steal third or anything.
Or steal home.
He's not afraid to do that either.
He's done that before.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But, I mean, just incredible. This young guy that really took the world by storm last year when he gets called up and was just awesome. This, big shortstop that, just hits the ball so far, but he's also so fast. And then this year he gets injured, early in the season. He misses a lot of time, comes back, really struggles to kind of get back into the groove. And, now is really hitting his stride. And to be able to be in that group, to be the first player ever under 23 to have 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases would just be unbelievable to see.
Did you see the breakdown of his steal, of how he steals? I know John Boyd did a breakdown on his steals because he said something in the lines of Dave Roberts, that he was kind of critiquing him because he doesn't do the traditional steal, stand still and then go. He's moving. And I think John Boyd said that, well, he actually tried that. He actually made that adjustment. It's just the one, he did it twice and he got caught. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing initially. I'm just going to just move and then go. And it just works for him. Yeah. It's just one of those quirks certain athletes have. Like he has to be moving before the pitch is being thrown in order for him to steal. Scotty Scheffler's left leg got to slip every single time before he hits a ball. It's just one of those little quirks that kind of just stands out for those athletes. And hey, if he can get to 40 stolen bases on the year, I will take it.
Oh, absolutely. You take it every single day of the week. But no, I didn't see that breakdown. That's really interesting. And so, maybe he gets it tonight. That would definitely be fun to see. And that Reds team, has been...
They've been a fun team.
They've been a fun team, but they haven't been, I think, the team that people thought they would be this year. Because I think a lot of people thought that they would make that jump to, kind of that next level. Yeah. Now, they've had injuries as well. And so they really haven't been clicking like some people thought. I mean, right now, they're 6 games out of the wild card. Still could make a push, but would need a lot of things to go in there, to go their way. But 60 and 64 on the year right now. I just think people expected better from that team, but still very young. Yeah. And I think, in the next couple of years could definitely be a factor, especially in that NL Central. But we need to wrap up hour number 2. And when we come back to start our third and final hour, we're talking Grizzlies basketball. The schedule came out on Thursday. It's been a while since we've talked to DeMichael Cole, but he's going to join us next, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us to talk about the schedule and talk about this offseason for the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous. A legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
We're in the break room at a traditional jewelry store here. Hey, Mark, I know it's our job here to try and sell every piece of jewelry, but don't
sell this ring. I'm going to try to use my employee discount to buy it for my wife.
Okay, but you know you can get a better deal at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds? Are you crazy?
Better not let the boss hear it. All I'm saying is I got a pair of diamond set earrings there for my wife and paid a lot less than what we charge here, even after my employee discount.
Wow.
You never know who you'll see shopping at Genesis Diamonds. With no middleman pricing on the best selection of diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bands, and bracelets, it's a no-brainer.
I admire your dedication to our jewelry store and not going to Genesis. I know the boss really appreciates your loyalty.
It's just the right thing to do, man.
And it's nice your wife won't mind getting a smaller diamond.
On second thought, can you cover me while I take a break? Genesis Diamonds, the smart alternative to old-fashioned jewelry shopping. With more selection, lower prices, higher quality, stronger warranties, and zero pressure. At Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Hey, Jason, my main man, Marshall, it's the Volkswagen Sandy Summer Sales Event at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. And, buddy, I need the scoop.
Randy, don't pass this one by, my man. Take your pick, 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport, just $275 a month. And 2024 Atlas Peak Edition, $5,000 off or 0.9% APR for 60 months. And remember, at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike, no reasonable offer will be refused.
Remember, it's your choice, 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta Sport, $275 a month. And 2024 Atlas Peak Edition's $5,000 off or 0.9% APR for 60 months. So ask for Jason, the main man, Marshall at Gossett Volkswagen, 1875 Covington Pike, or online at GossettVWMemphis.com.
Where we're charging for it and charging less every day.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's gotten even heavier in the last few minutes. 40 eastbound over here passing Sycamore View Road, headed on out to Germantown. Parkway had that earlier wreck that had it a little bit slower than normal as you come off 240 onto Bill Morris Parkway. Again, they've moved that over to the side. Just busy now with all that volume on 385 Bill Morris Parkway, headed on out into Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Oh, yeah. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Zach with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now in our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He joins us now to talk some Grizzlies basketball. DeMichael, it's good to hear from you. It's been a while since we've had you on to talk the Grizzlies. I think it was about around the time of the NBA Finals last time we caught up with you. We got the schedule released last Thursday, so plenty to get into today. When you saw that schedule, what kind of jumped out to you for the Grizzlies?
Well, the first thing I always want to see with the Grizzlies is what the early part of the schedule looks like, because historically, the Grizzlies have been a slow-starting team. What last season when they were 0 forever, and 9-16, and like terrible, and before the job while job was suspended. But even besides that, like the previous 2 years, I remember the defense like being a big deal. They're giving up so many 3-pointers, and ho-hum, boom, they end up top 5 defense in the NBA at the end of the season. Like it happened each of the previous 2 years where they ended up winning 50-plus games. So they need to break that trend at some point. Like the West is too competitive, and these slow starts and things like that. Like you got to break that. So I think the early part of the schedule is very manageable. For them, they start off in Utah, and then they go to Houston. But that stretch is very manageable. And then, of course, that was the main thing that I looked for. Of course, you look for the storyline stuff too. I always say that the NBA builds in narratives into the schedule. Like, you just got to pay attention. Like they put narratives in the schedule, and I don't think it's an accident that one of the Grizzlies TNT games will be against the Houston Rockets. So you get to see Dylan Brooks, guarding John Morant in front of a nationally televised audience. I don't think that's an accident by any stretch of the imagination. And then, of course, the Anthony Edwards led Timberwolves coming here for MLK Day. Love that matchup. So some really good storylines matchups built in as well. Those are the main things. But the early stretch, definitely a manageable one where the Grizzlies should at least get off to a decent start.
Yeah.
DeMichael, Kleiman is going into his 6th season with Taylor Jenkins and obviously with John Morant as well. Just looking at the job that he has done, do you feel confident that Kleiman can make that next step as to be one of the top executives in the NBA, even though he has shown that he? But do you feel like with the draft class of LaRavia and Roddy kind of like showing that blemish a little bit, do you feel like he can get back to showing that he is one of the top executives in the NBA?
I think so, and here's why I think that, Zach, because a big part of being a good executive, in my opinion, is not being stubborn. You got to realize, okay, I messed up that time. Mm-hmm. He traded David Roddy in a year and a half. That's one of those situations, okay, I messed up. This is the first round pick. Some GMs will be stubborn and say, no, we'll stick with him through year 3. We'll stick with him through year 4. They traded Zaire. It was very clear that Zaire wasn't in the pecking order anymore. And those things stand out to me. And then there are other ways, like the way the roster is built as well is another reason. Like, he has shown several signs that he isn't going to be stubborn, because you're going to hit and miss on picks all the time. You show me, a GM that is hit, on every single pick. I'll show you a unicorn with legs. So, it just doesn't happen. So you're gonna miss every now and then, and the Grizzlies have hit on their fair share. So you show me, a David Roddy or a Zaire Williams, I'll show you a Vince Williams and G.G. Jackson in the second round. So it's plus and minuses that come with that. But the ability to recognize your mistakes is what all the best guys do. You got to put the egos to the side. People kind of get on Steve Kerr these days a lot, but a lot of people don't remember that when Steve Kerr took over for the Warriors, David Lee, now there was an injury involved early on and whatnot, but David Lee was the veteran presence on that team. David Lee went to the bench. Draymond Green was inserted into the starting lineup, and that was one of the reasons that kickstarted that team. But you couldn't imagine a time like a respected veteran who was still producing like that being taken out of the lineup, and with a young guy who is, like Draymond Green being inserted, in place of him. So to me, it's all about you can't be stubborn. And whether it was the Roddy example, whether it was, even with LaRavia and that draft class, Kennedy Chandler, you gave Kennedy Chandler one of the highest guaranteed contracts ever for a second-round pick as an American. Let him go at the end of the first season and realize, this isn't going to work. So he has the ability to cut bait really fast when things aren't working out. And I think that's critical, because he's shown that he'll hit, on some moves eventually. And the Grizzlies, they have their core in place, so I think they're in a good spot.
Yeah, and that was like my line of thinking with Kleiman and the job that he's done, because I mean, for like the first 4 or 5 years, he was just tasked to get this team into some type of playoff contention. And now that he has hit on the late first round and even in the second round picks, it's like, okay, cool. Like the depth is filled out now. And now we can like start looking at, can we make and go after bigger targets and to add to this team? In my mind, I feel like he with every first year executive, you kind of need to give them time, especially when he's like when he got the job and was very successful with it from the jump. Give him time to like you said, DeMichael, to kind of rectify his mistakes. And so far, like, I can't complain having Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, and we'll see what Cam Spencer and Jalen Wells gonna look like here in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, exactly. So, he, like with this draft class, this is an excellent example of knowing your weaknesses. And I think they've done a good job of, some people say sometimes there's been a bad job of this, but whatever they feel like the weaknesses are, they double, triple down, whatever you call it. Everybody remembers when Kleiman questioned, should we have tripled down on youth when they went away from Nelson and Kyle Anderson and got Laravia, Roddy, Santi Aldama, and those guys.
Yeah.
So everyone remembers that one, but look at the roster where we talked about the lack of, like, two-way wing players for so long, and they've been trying. Like Laravia, Roddy, Zaire Williams. They tried. But now you got Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson. They traded for Marcus Smart, which was a big swing at the time. Like, they are trying to fix those issues. To me, the biggest issue, like, is shooting. I know everyone wants to talk about the bigs, the rebound, and all that. Shooting is the biggest issue to me because I don't care about all this, go get this offensive genius and things like that. You can draw up the best play in the world. If the wide open guy is a 32% three-point shooter, guess what's going to happen? It's going to look, he's going to miss.
That's right.
He's going to miss 68, 69% of the time. So you got to go get better shooters, which is what Jalen Wells is supposed to be, which is what Cam Spencer is supposed to be. Then I think there's going to be some progressions with some of the younger players, too, which is also what I think the Grizzlies believe. With Asante Aldama, I don't think Santi has shot as well from three-point range as he's capable of yet, like in NBA. I think he can be a 37% three-point shooter, at some point. He hasn't done that yet. I think there's going to be, a bigger volume of Vince Williams, being that 36, 37, possibly even higher than that type three-point shooter when he's sharing the floor alongside of Ja, Dez, and those guys. So I think what they, like, with Jalen Wells, with Cam Spencer, they didn't go say, oh, yeah, let's just go add one shooter. And no, we're going to go get two. Because if one of these guys don't work out, there's another option. Just like you went and got, after Zaire Williams was a top 10 pick. Very next, you go get Jake Laravia and David Roddy. Everyone's like, oh, man, they play the same position as him. And then you go get Vince Williams. So hey, look, we know what our weaknesses are, and we're going to throw a bunch of cards at it, and one of them's going to hit.
Yeah. You mentioned Santi Aldama, and he was playing with the Spain national team in the Olympics. Looked good. What were your takeaways from what he did with the Spain national team at the Olympics?
I was confident, just confident, because Santi, when he's playing for Spain, he's the guy.
Right.
Like, people, I don't know if anyone realized it, but, like, Spain, well, people realize it because, Marcus Gasol and all those guys, but, like, it's a changing of the guard over there. And Santi is he was the one current NBA player on that roster. Now, they have a bunch of other guys who played a lot of time in the NBA, but he was the one current guy who is on an NBA roster that was on that team. And they kind of gave him the keys. They gave him the keys, and, he took advantage of it. And that's kind of, encouraging to see. I always question how some of it will translate because it's going to be a different role in the NBA. He's not going to have the ball in his hands as much. It's more, it's easier for him to get in a rhythm, while playing for Spain, whereas he has to come off the bench, take 2 or 3 shots for the Grizzlies, go back to the bench, take 2, 3 more shots, go back to the bench, in Memphis. So it's a little bit different situation. But at the end of the day, this is a big year for Santi. The Grizzlies got a decision to make on him. He'll be potentially a restricted free agent, after this season if the team doesn't extend him before the season starts. So, it's a big year for Santi Aldama.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because we haven't talked to you since Summer League, what did you think about this Summer League team? I know after watching it, a lot of people very high on Cam Spencer and Jalen Wells, the 2 second-round picks. We didn't get to see much of Zach Edey because of those injuries. What did you think of what the Grizzlies did out in Vegas?
Yeah, I saw enough of Zach Edey. That was my takeaway on that. I know people wanted to see more, and of course, like we didn't get to see Edey that much, but we saw enough. Yeah. Look at the center matchup. The best center he probably was going to play throughout that entire run was Walker Kessler, and that's who he played against, and that's who he played well against. And we saw the screen set. We saw the finishing around the rim. We saw the rim protection with the 3-4 block. And we saw in just 6 minutes of that second game, the Grizzlies feeding him the ball and him being able to carve out space and demand the ball and just make the game easier for his teammates. So that was enough for me. Everything else that I want to see could not be accomplished in summer league. It's going to take preseason games. It's going to take, NBA games where you're playing, quicker, more dynamic guards who are much more efficient. And it's going to, kind of challenge him a little bit more defensively. But what I saw enough from him in summer league. Scottie Pippen Jr. was really good as well. I've been kind of, on the Scottie Pippen Jr. train for a while, since he got here. Because one of the first things that he told me, I'll never forget because it jumped out to me. We were in the locker room talking, and when he first got here to Memphis, I think it was like in January, and he was like, because I was asking, I'm like, I'm looking at your numbers, man, and like, why aren't you sticking? Mm-hmm. Like, you 2 years in a row, 20 points in the G League, but you didn't play with the Lakers. Like, you didn't play with the LA Lakers. And he goes like, that's been the story of my life. Then I go look at his numbers at Vanderbilt, and I'm like, all SEC player. Then he was like, yeah, I didn't get drafted. He was like, all SEC player didn't get drafted. 2, back-to-back G League seasons over 20 points per game. Didn't get promoted, to the Lakers. So he's like, this has just been the story of my life. He was like, he knows he's good enough in his mind. And so the summer league was fulfilling for him in that way. I think he's a solid backup. So I think you kind of fortified some depth things, whether it was the shooting of Cam. I mean, Cam Spencer's shooting was good. Zach Edey, Scottie Pippen Jr., and then we know, Gigi Jackson's talent as well. Like, summer league did exactly what it was supposed to do for the Grizzlies.
And speaking of Scottie Pippen Jr., I know, and this pretty much been the theme of most of the offseason is, you spoke of it of adding needs to this team, obviously with the shooting. Almost like now we got like a roster crunch full of good players from 1 through 18. Are you of the notion of let's elevate some of these young guys to the main squad, or do you believe in just trying to build out the best 18-man roster that you can with this Grizzly squad?
Man, daycare is over with the Memphis Grizzlies. It's time now. Like, if you ain't like, it's time to be cutthroat. For lack of better words, like the days of the whole, this guy's good. He's gonna be good in 2 years. No, forget all that. Like, you get left behind in the Western Conference with that mentality. OKC is ready. Like Dallas, Luka ain't going nowhere anytime soon. They're gonna be there. Houston is on the right. Houston has so much young talent. Like, Houston is on the rise. The Pelicans, nice dynamic young core. Like you got to put your best dudes out there, and if you ain't good enough, see you. Like it's that simple. You can't. Oh no, like I said when Zaire was traded. Like again, that's just one of those examples where everyone around there knows how close like Zaire Williams and John Moran are. For example, like it's very close.
My little brother.
Yeah, that's what he calls him. He calls him his little brother, and he's and to trade Zaire away is it's a business decision, of course, but it's one of those things where maybe a little part of your head is like, we don't want to upset John. We make sure this is okay, but at the same time, you need to make those moves in order to best position this team for the run. So I think it's simple. Your best guys got to play. Like it's really that simple. The Western Conference, you don't have much room, much margin for error. A 2-week injury for a star player is going to be the difference in some of these teams being a third seed or a play-in team possibly. Like I think it could be that close.
Yeah. DeMichael, going back to the schedule for the Grizzlies this year, and really this is more just in general in terms of the NBA. Now it's being rebranded as the NBA Cup. What are your thoughts on what was the in-season tournament last year, now the NBA Cup? Are you a fan of it? Or are you still kind of in a wait-and-see mode? How do you feel on the NBA Cup?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It grew on me a little bit. I mean, because the early part of the NBA season, and we see it just from fan interest in the numbers, like outside of like the opening week stuff and all that, like people are waiting to the second half of the season. They want to see the case. They want to see, outside of a few games, like of course MLK Day and certain days will be big, but it's kind of the NBA season kind of slow plays till you get to like the chase, like the second half, like post trade deadline and all that. Like that's when things heat up. So in a way, it adds some fire to that part of the season. Like after you get past the first couple weeks when we finally see who's playing with who and whatnot like that, it just adds a new element. And, I really don't care for like, congratulations, you're the in-season tournament champion. Sure. And it doesn't, it really doesn't do anything for you. I mean, the Lakers won it and it didn't matter, for their playoff chances. So, and then they played the Pacers, and Pacers ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think, I don't think the Pacers were a top 5 team in the NBA, this past season. So with all that being said, like it's a mixed bag from that standpoint, but entertainment wise, I like it. Add a little color to the sport, the jerseys and whatnot, and you go play in Vegas, 4 teams or 8 teams or whatever the case may be. Like I like the whole idea of that, but maybe. You kind of change the award a little bit so it can have more meaning, but yeah, it's fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part for me, and obviously it's gonna need time to grow on the majority of people, but to have it going on during football season, because you kind of mentioned it, especially early in season, not as many people paying attention to the NBA as they are the NFL and college football. It's really, everyone says Christmas Day is the unofficial start of the NBA season, and so to have something like this where there's something on the line, the guys are playing with a little bit of an extra edge during those early months on Fridays and Tuesday nights. I just gives people more of a reason to tune in earlier in the NBA season. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Nothing wrong with that at all. We need that extra flair, and it's good run.
Yeah.
Like the players say, it's good bump. Like guys are playing 40 minutes, and they're understanding it more. Like it was funny last year. Like people didn't understand the rules, and you saw things going closer to the end of the game, and people questioning the morality and running up the score and things like that. Like I like that. I like that added factor to it.
Well, that's a good point because I remember before the season started, the big question was, well, how many of these guys are actually going to care about this? And are they really going to go out there and play hard just because there's a silly in-season tournament title on the line? And very quickly you saw like the guys cared about it a lot.
It's $1 million on the table,
I mean,
man.
they were going a little bit harder in those games so that they could stay alive. So no, I'm in on it, and I think just another thing that the NBA has gotten right. It feels like everything they do is really good for the game. But DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the middle of your off season, and we'll catch back up with you a little bit closer to the season.
Most definitely, guys. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, DeMichael. DeMichael Cole joining us from the Commercial Appeal, where he covers the Memphis Grizzlies. Zach, I guess follow up on that, and then a question for you that I didn't get to with DeMichael. I think it's going to take time, but I do think the NBA Cup is something that's going to stick, and I think is going to be something that becomes like a somewhat big thing for the NBA. Like I think because we just mentioned it with DeMichael, you saw guys care about it. Like these guys actually care about it. And so it's not going to take the place of the actual playoffs or come anywhere close to that. But having something that early in the season where, I mean, let's be honest, I love basketball, I love the NBA, but in November, in December, a lot of my Friday and Tuesday nights,
football.
I'm watching football. And it's very hard for me to go over to early season NBA games when, November and December, that's when games matter in football, whether it's the NBA or college football. And so to have something where, hey, this is the NBA Cup, these games matter extra because here in a couple weeks, we're going to have a tournament in Vegas and we're going to crown somebody an NBA Cup champion. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, anything to just, even if you get, a 15, 20% bump in viewers that night, like that is good enough for the NBA, I think.
Yeah, and even like if you go back and like watch the players' interaction with this, because it's not, because like for example, like the Lakers, we're the winners. Sure. But you saw AD, you saw Bron. There's they're like, every player is getting $1 million, including the guys at the back end of the roster who is not even going to sniff $1 million per season, like literally $1 million per season.
Right.
So for them, for the guys that are in the rotation, it was obviously it's an incentive to get the million, but then it also incentivized them like, yo, I want my teammates to eat, man. I want them to get the million too.
Exactly.
So it's like, I think it brings in the team aspect of it because you kind of see the camaraderie of it. Now the whole popping the champagne bottles at the end of it, I ain't a fan of it.
Well,
but
I think that was more the NBA saying, "Hey, we got to sell this. Y'all celebrate like y'all really love it."
But I do like the idea, the concept of it. I think it does drum up the interest, especially early in the year.
Sure.
When I know we had Portland, we had Utah coming in. We had our I guess in season the in season tournament games here in Memphis. Like you kind of you felt the energy in the building, even though the team wasn't like fully healthy either.
No, absolutely. Last thing for you on the Grizzlies before we get to a break. Big deal, not a big deal, somewhat of a big deal, somewhat of a deal. Grizzlies going preseason camp in Nashville.
No big deal.
Okay, I don't think so either.
Like the thing is, like the Grizzlies are sitting there. They just sent their caravan to Little Rock.
Yeah,
and I'm more than sure they're gonna go back down to Birmingham, and I'm more than sure they're gonna go to. They're gonna spend some time in Nashville where the team is at.
Well, my favorite part about the whole thing was all of the reporting that was done. And I say this, and I said it to Brett last week, I think. We're very lucky here in Memphis. We have great reporters on pretty much everything. I mean, Tiger football, we have 2 great reporters. Tiger basketball, we have 2 great reporters. Grizzlies, we have 2 great reporters for both the papers here locally. Both Drew Hill and DeMichael Cole both reported it of, hey, because of renovations, because of things happening at FedEx Forum, they're going to Nashville. And immediately after, not an hour after it was out there, I'm seeing people on Twitter saying, oh, this is the NBA wanting to get a team in Nashville. Yeah. They want to move the Grizzlies to Nashville. No. You can't let them go to Nashville. There's nothing, there's no conspiracy theory there. This isn't something crazy. And I don't remember who we had on.
The Nashville Grizzlies. Just look out for them.
Look out for them. We had somebody on, I can't even remember who, but it was like, yeah, back in 2013, they went up to Nashville and practice and did preseason camp up there.
Yeah.
So it's nothing crazy. It's just
it's nothing normal. There's nothing absurd about it. I think people, especially here in Memphis, we're very tight-lipped on the things that we care about, and then when it gets taken away from us and gets sent up to the sister capital of the state,
Sure, yes.
It's just it kind of plays into that in-state tug of war type of thing. But no, I think it's just as simple as they need an arena to practice in. Yeah. Bridgestone Arena is the closest.
It's right up the road, and hey, it wouldn't hurt if you get more fans in Nashville.
Right. You're not far from Louisville, you're not far from Lexington, so especially you're hitting Murray, Kentucky too, which is Josh type of ground. So you're hitting that market of Grizzly fans.
Yeah.
Now I will say though, I will love it at some point. They'll send a training camp up to St. Louis. I would love that.
Interesting.
Let's branch out the market a little bit.
Interesting.
But that's just me though.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but that is interesting.
But I don't see an issue with it. I know people gonna be in their feelings about it. Could be like they should put all the sports in Nashville. No, that's not fun.
No.
That's not fun. Even though Nashville is growing pretty much by the day.
Oh yeah, it is. Absolutely.
No, the Grizzlies are not going anywhere.
No, they're not going anywhere. It's nothing to worry about. Definitely just stuff with FedEx Forum.
Yeah,
and, it's
you got to make improvements.
Exactly. Same thing we talk about with Simmons Bank. You just got to do what you got to do. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
All 650 acquisition fee, $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte RE794066, MSRP 21820, Telluride RG543666, MSRP 39835, EV9 R602 29603, MSRP 61035. Lease terms include all rebates and incentives and a PF 695, includes tax, title, license, registration, and fees. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 8/31/24. Dealer stock only.
Hey, Jeff Allen, what's up over there at Gossett Kia, South Mount Moriah?
I know what's down, Randy. Prices at Gossett Kia, Mount Moriah. You looking to save? 41 MPG Highway in a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. I've got a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $379 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And Randy, talk about saving big bucks, 304 EPA estimate range for $389 a month in a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite, $49.99 due at signing, all 24-month lease.
Plus the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call, hit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Are you looking to save on gas? Well, we got it covered at Gossett Kia on the Pike with 41 in Beachy Highway and your new 2024 Kia Forte LXS. $199 a month, $37.99 to its signing. Or how about a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite with 0% APR available for 48 months? Or get 304 EPA estimated range for $389 a month, $49.99 to its signing. All 24-month lease. Plus, you always get peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Call Bobby J. He's ready to put you in your new Kia today. That's Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike or online 24/7 365 at KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Acquisition fee $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage. Forte RE794066, MSRP 21820, EV9 R6029603, MSRP 61035. Lease terms include all rebates and incentives, and PF 695 includes tax, title, license, registration, and fees. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 8/31/24. Dealer stock only.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square. Fun, friendly, exciting, and comfortable with wall-to-wall TVs for all your favorite games. 24 taps for all your favorite beers, including NA and local craft beers. And an in-front-of-the-wall pool bar for all your other favorite beverages, including a full wine list. And in an upscale menu, patio seating, daily specials, and events, and you found all your sports in the one right place. The Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square, Highway 70.
No matter what new Chevy or pre-owned car you're looking for, they have it at All-Star Chevrolet. First exit on Highway 78 when you cross into Mississippi. Take Kraft Goodman Road and you're at All-Star Chevy, where the end of summer sale is going on. Let's drive what we really want to drive, and let's drive it from All-Star. Pick out 2 or 3 cars to test drive, and you can. If you can't find it at All-Star, you can't find it anywhere. 20 to 30 new Silverados, marked down as much as 12% to save you thousands. Every Tahoe you could want for road trips and tailgating, they have it. Law enforcement, first responders, healthcare, teachers, military, college students, college grads all get an instant extra $500 bonus back. All the pre-owned Ram trucks you can think of, and Silverados, Broncos, a 4Runner, an Audi, Hyundai Palisade, and one sweet Corvette Stingray. This is the best week to get the most money on any vehicle you want to sell. Bring it to All-Star, even if you didn't buy it there in Olive Branch, and get a big check today. Don't miss All-Star Chevy's end of summer sale going on right now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, no Brett today. Bryant and Zach with you. We're in our family leisure studios. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and we got to talk about what's trending. A couple things I wanted to get to during what's trending. And Zach, we talked about both of them earlier, and it's really revolves around the quarterbacks in the NFL this preseason. Just some of the highlights of the news we've gotten today. Gardner Minshew will be the starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. And I'll be honest, Zach, when I look at the Oakland Raiders, oh, good Lord, what is wrong with me? The Las Vegas Raiders.
I mean, same difference. Same.
Jeez.
Same
when
thing.
I look at the Las Vegas Raiders, and I look at their quarterbacks, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I like Gardner Minshew as a backup. But when you start talking about him being a starting quarterback and winning the job as a starting quarterback on day one, I get a little worried. And so, Zach, when I look at this group of rising draft prospects, this is a team I circle. And when we're talking NFL draft next year, I think the Oakland Raiders are going to be a team in the first round wanting a quarterback. And, Zach, I won't be surprised if here in a couple weeks, especially after college football gets rolling, after the NFL gets rolling, I think we're going to see a lot of names being projected as the starting quarterback next year for the Las Vegas Raiders, being a guy that's going to be a first-round draft pick next year.
The only thing I could push back on is, like, I don't know who's QB1 coming out of the draft this year.
That's why I'm pulling up I'm trying to find a mock draft for 2025. Very early for a mock draft.
Very.
But I'm sure I can find it.
Because I know Shedeur Sanders from Colorado.
Of course.
Carson Beck from Georgia.
That's the answer, right? Carson Beck.
But
you already got Brock Bowers at tight end?
But are you sure that he is the guy? Georgia has been dominant, but I'm just like, are you sure he's the guy? We'll see. And he can, and all those questions can be answered this upcoming season.
Of course.
To see how dominant he can be. But based on like first year after Stetson Bennett, the fourth. Let me put some respect on that.
Yeah.
Stetson Bennett the fourth. It's like he was cool. Like he kept like the his playmakers. The defense kept everything afloat until the championship game against Bama. So I don't know. And it's kind of hard to say, like, what veteran's going to be available because, I mean, obviously, in my mind, Dak Prescott, he's going to be available.
Right.
Unless they come up with a deal.
Right.
Shoot, I don't know who else would be.
So this is, what I'm looking at right now is more of a big board than it is a mock draft.
Okay.
For 2025, obviously, because how could you do a mock draft when, the NFL season hadn't even started?
For sure.
There are 4 quarterbacks that would be projected to go in the first round on this list. And this is from CBS Sports. So we've got the first being Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. Is it Quinn Ewers?
Connor Wegman is the third listed.
Wegman
from Texas A&M.
A&M, okay.
And then Quinn Ewers is the fourth quarterback.
Yeah.
That's on this
list. So 3
list.
of the 4. I got 3 of the 4. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. I think, those are going to be the names. And Zach, there's going to be another name that comes out of nowhere this year. It always happens where, a guy that you don't really expect. Jane Daniels was that guy last year.
Yeah.
I really don't know where he was mocked or big boarded to go before the season started. But then he goes out there. He has a Heisman campaign. He's unbelievable with LSU and becomes the number 2 pick. And now today was named the starting quarterback for the Commanders for Week 1. When you look at that team, Zach, new head coach who is a defensive-minded coach and now a rookie quarterback. I like Jaden Daniels, but you always hear kind of the a small quarterback gets beat up in the NFL. We saw it last year with Bryce Young. What do you think about this Washington Commanders team and the fact that they're going to go with Jaden Daniels to start Week 1?
Obviously, you got to protect them. It starts with the trenches for them. You can't allow your quarterback to get pressured like that. Yeah. Now the thing is for the Commanders, they would love for Jaden McDaniels to do exactly what C.J. Stroud did.
Sure.
Come in, wasn't thought of to be the number one guy.
Sure.
Set the league on fire. Get some play. I'm not sure how many playmakers he has. I think that's the one thing that might be a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But I think getting a running game going, getting that offensive line figured out helps young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because then they can have time to kind of sit and maneuver. And then obviously Jaden being a mobile guy, he can use his legs and take off. It's everything depends. Everything is dependent on the front, the trenches for the Commanders.
You're absolutely right, and I think you brought up a really interesting point because last year with C.J. Stroud, Zach, people were questioning if this guy was competent. And I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like, people were saying this guy has had the worst. I don't, it used to be the Wonderlic test. Now it's like the S2 test or whatever.
Like he was the worst out of.
He's had the worst score ever. This guy can't play quarterback.
Last time I checked, you don't take exams on the football field.
No, and so there was real questions like, what is CJ Stroud? Because there were even questions at Ohio State. When he became the starting quarterback at Ohio State, was like, is CJ Stroud good enough to be the starting quarterback? And showed absolutely. And now in the NFL, I think very quickly you're seeing a lot of people saying he should have been the number one pick in that draft over Bryce Young. And so with Jaden Daniels, you haven't had those questions. It's been this is an electric player and can make any team better. And so I'm really excited to see what he can do. Obviously, Zach, we're both Cowboy fans, so I want to see him succeed, but I don't. At the cost of them not being very good. Like it's weird. I want him to be good, but I don't want the Commanders to be very good.
Yeah, I support every brother that's that's a quarterback in the NFL.
Of course. Except when you're on a team in my division.
Except when we got to play you this week.
Yeah.
All right, let's play a game for a second.
Ooh, I love a game.
I know we got a few minutes here. Yep. Let's play a game.
Okay.
You are the GM of said bad team with a bad quarterback situation.
Okay, I like this.
Free agents of the 2025 QB class.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Dak Prescott, you taking him? Yes or no?
I'm a bad team.
On a bad team.
Yeah, I'll take Dak.
Okay. You gonna take Sam Darnold as on a bad team? No Sam Darnold. Okay.
I mean, it depends on what he does this year. If he's good this year, I'd take him. But I don't know. I don't know enough about Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Because when we've seen him as a starting quarterback, it hasn't been very good.
Yeah. Okay. I think Zach Wilson is a no.
Yeah,
He's a no.
I think Zach Wilson's probably a no.
Trey Lance, you taking a flyer on Trey?
I'm biased. As my starting quarterback?
Starting quarterback. You need a starting quarterback for 2025.
Nah, I can't take Trey Lance.
Okay. Jacoby Brissett.
I take Jacoby.
I think Jacoby can run the team until.
Because here's the thing: if I go and get Jacoby in free agency, I can get a quarterback in the draft and maybe not have to waste a first-round pick on him.
Exactly.
And get a guy that I can develop for a year, and I trust Jacoby enough to be a starter.
Or
for at least a year.
or that guy that you take later on that draft, he could be the backup. You let Jacoby go, in a sense.
All right, throw one more at me.
Yeah. Gosh,
if we have one more,
they're bad. They're all bad.
So end of the day, moral of the story is the free agency group at the quarterback position
is Dak Prescott or bust.
And that's if the Cowboys let him walk.
Exactly.
Wow. So might be a big year for the draft, for quarterbacks in the draft. And I think there are going to be several teams wanting a quarterback.
And this is also to a shot to Cowboys fans who are saying, go get you another quarterback.
That's right.
Who else is better than Dak Prescott right now in the market?
Nobody right now, which is a great point by you, Zach. But we need to get to our final break of the day. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The Mitsubishi Final Days of Summer sales event is going strong at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. So come get bang for your buck with 420 total range and 64 combined MPGE in 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. We Gossett $34,770 or $299.98 a month. And check out 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. We Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
RZO 35297 MSRP 47470 36-month 30,000-mile lease 4453 do it signing 1,095 acquisition fee 25 cents per mile excess wear and tear. Eclipse RZO 65450 MSRP 28745 includes all rebates and incentives PF 695 excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Been hungry for some college football? Well, we finally get the taste this weekend. Jump in on DraftKings Sportsbook. And for all the newbies getting into the college spirit, here's something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. The code is HERD, H-E-R-D. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge, just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Zach, what I learned today, a lot of Tiger basketball news coming out. The first big news, their first game in Maui has been announced. They'll play UConn, the defending national champion, the back-to-back national champs. They'll get them the first game. Still not sure what the bracket will look like, what they'll get after that. We also learned Memphis will play Alabama in a preseason exhibition on October 28th in Huntsville, Alabama, as part of the 2024 Rocket City Classic. I said it earlier, it feels like the way this is being put out, that this will be something you can watch, whether you have to buy it or stream somewhere. It feels like you'll be able to watch it, which will be good. A lot of Tiger fans will be able to get an early look at this team.
Right. What I learned today is you always got to carry your passport and your Olympic medal.
That's right.
Because you never know where you're going to end up winning the first round of the PGA Tour the title.
That's a great point. And when you need to get on a plane and get out of the country, you got to have that passport on you. Very weird story for Hideki Matsuyama, and even weirder that he was able to win after that. What I could have done without Tua Tagovailoa in an interview on the Dan Leptard show earlier today, recalled former head coach Brian Flores' style and talked about how he would berate him, talk about how he wasn't good enough, he was a terrible player, he shouldn't be here, and that really got to him and affected him as a quarterback. And now, under this new regime in Miami, things are getting better for him.
Yeah, I'm glad and I'm happy for him. He dealt with a lot of injuries to start. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that the way ended that way with Brian Flores, because I was rooting for him as well.
Sure.
But, hey, it's worked out better for the both, I guess.
It absolutely has. Where you being tonight?
To the bed. I'm still recovering from the golf tournament from yesterday.
It was hot out there. It was a lot of energy. Watching golf all day.
Like that sun zapped every ounce of energy out of me. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Let's see. Beam me tonight. Some good games, even though it's a lighter slate of games. I guess beam me late tonight, 9 o'clock, to this Mariners-Dodgers games. Brian Wu versus Gavin Stone should be a fun game late tonight in L.A. But that's all the time we have today. Enjoy your night, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.